Well, good morning. Welcome, everyone, to this session of Administrator Issues and Updates on July 22nd, 2025. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please call the roll for us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Roll call. Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Helm.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Chair Roberts.
Here. All right. I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Housing Authority Board. Gary, would you please introduce the first agenda item?
Yes, thank you. You're now meeting as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County Board. Joining you online is Housing Resident Commissioner Ann Leenstra. Good morning, Commissioner Leenstra.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For being here. This item is opening a project-based voucher waitlist. A briefing from staff, presenting is Mary Rumbaugh, Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, Shannon Callahan, who's the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. We're here to share an exciting update regarding the Housing Authority waitlist. Next Monday, for 4 days, the Housing Authority will be accepting applications for their project-based voucher waitlist. This is the first time in 5 years the Housing Authority has accepted applications for vouchers. In this case, the waitlist is opening to lease up and fill vacancies at affordable properties in Clackamas County that have vouchers attached to specific units. I'm now going to hand it over to Shannon Callahan, who's going to provide additional information.
Good morning. As Mary said, starting next Monday, the 28th at 8 a.m. through Thursday, July 31st at 5 p.m., we at the Housing Authority will be accepting applications for our wait list. We anticipate using this wait list for the next 2 years to lease up specifically the new Blossom and Community housing development in Milwaukee at Hillside Park, the Clackamas Heights redevelopment, which will start leasing up in early 2027, as well as vacancies at properties like Rosewood Station and Town Center Courtyards. Once the application period closes next Thursday at 5 p.m., a random lottery will be held, and we anticipate selecting 500 applicants for our wait list. Applicants will not be accepted first come, first serve, so it doesn't matter at what time any application comes. Every application will be randomized and selected through the lottery. The application link and locations where people can fill out the online application are available on our website, www.clackamas.us/Housing Authority. You can also just look up the Housing Authority on Google or any search engine, and it'll take you right to that page. Or people can call our phone number that we have specially set up for this purpose to provide assistance at 503-655-8267. In addition to applying through the link on our Housing Authority website, we will have several locations throughout Clackamas where we have staff providing assistance to people to work through the application process. In particular, at the Red Soils campus here in Oregon City, we will have staff 4 days next week at our Development Services building. We will have staff at the Department of Human Services offices in Canby and Estacada. As well, we will be able to set up personal appointments for individuals at community centers in Wilsonville, Lake Oswego, Oregon City, and Gladstone. And finally, we have a team of our own staff, volunteers that are working to make sure that every single person on our by name list, which is a list of households who are currently experiencing homelessness in Clackamas County, will have an application completed and entered on our waiting list. So that is our plan for the waitlist opening. We wanted to alert you. We have sent out a media communications. We have published a notice in the Oregonian as well. We are doing specific targeted outreach to all of our community partners and local government officials, especially where the two buildings, Blossom and Community and Clackamas Heights, are located. And that concludes our informational update, and we're available to answer any questions you might have.
Right. Commissioner West has a question.
Am I correct that we have approximately 500 slots coming available?
We have it is hard to know exactly how many slots we have. We have 100 vouchers that we are project basing at Blossom and Community and Hillside Park, though our residents have first priority for that project. As well, we have 200 units and 112 vouchered units at Clackamas Heights. Again, there's a resident preference, so if residents choose to come back. So that in and of itself is 212 units of vouchers. And then we're using this for any openings that occur during that time as well. So at Town Center Commons, or as I said, at Rosewood Station, we take more applications, we accept more folks from the waitlist because some won't qualify, some will have moved, some won't want that property. So we estimate for the next 2 years, we'll have about 500 individuals on that wait list.
Is anybody that is in the drawing or the lottery, what's that qualification process to make sure that once you're in, you're eligible? How do we verify, or what does that verification look like?
Well, we have requirements based on federal law. So we go through an application process that includes income verification. So we need to make sure that you're income qualified. We need to make sure that you have identification and the right household mix for the voucher size. So we will look at and make sure that folks have all of the information they need to verify their identity. And then we are also required to go through a criminal background for any of those folks that are on vouchers to exclude for certain crimes. And depending on the affordable housing building they're also selected for, there may be additional requirements. For instance, Town Center Courtyards is a alcohol and drug-free property, and you would be required, if you were chosen for that property and wanting to live at that property, you would be required to do a drug test before you entered that property. So it would vary, but generally that's the intake process once you're on the wait list, and then once you're selected. We don't do any of that until you're pulled off the wait list for a particular property.
I know all these properties are a little different, like you just mentioned, the one that is drug-free and alcohol-free. What type of additional how do we build these additional relationships if these individuals need additional support? So some may need behavioral health support or some other things along those lines. So how are we bringing those additional services, make sure they're successful in the housing?
Well, Commissioner West, each of these properties has some mix of services. All of them have a resident-based service program, but these are not PSH units.
Okay.
So our PSH units and vouchers would be selected through a separate process through our coordinated housing access list. And there are PSH units available at Blossom and Community, which is the Hillside Park property. But those would go through a separate process and make sure that we're tailoring those services generally. Though I will say, when we're talking about folks with very low incomes, they come with a host of challenges just from being in poverty, and that's why the resident services programs we have at all of our buildings are really important, to make sure that we're connecting folks to the services they need, both with food security, employment, advancement, as well as any connections to behavioral health or addiction services.
And it looks like to me that their opportunities to apply are one of the primary banners, sorry, I can't talk today. They're banners on our homepage. So it says right there, like, application process open, it says the dates, and so it's well advertised and easy to find on the Clackamas County homepage. So
Great.
I encourage folks to do that. Thank you for your presentation. Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Salvis.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's, every time I drive down 32nd in Milwaukee, it's great to see Hillside coming together. It's a lot of units, and so a lot of opportunity. That said, you know, what comes up often, even last night in a meeting, is how many seniors are falling into economic homelessness. They don't have addiction issues, or, you know, don't have behavioral issues. They're just economically stuck. And I know that some of those are people that are now in transitional housing, I guess, we call it that, even if they're in that category. Help me out with this, Shannon, Mary. That are seniors that are now getting rent assistance, through SHS dollars. We're going to be trying to, I won't say recruit, but we're going to try and get them into the system, right, in this effort?
So, thank you, Commissioner, for the question. So anyone who's currently receiving permanent or long-term rent assistance, we consider housed because they are housed. Anyone that we know that is on our by name list, which is a list of those folks who are in transitional shelter, on our streets, or otherwise precariously housed and we consider homeless, we are hand entering all of their names in through this application process to make sure that we do not miss an opportunity. We're doing outreach to anyone that we can, but we're also very concerned about people who may live in encampments, may not have access to media. So that's why we're doing this hand process of making sure that everyone on our by name list has the same opportunity and will be put in for the lottery.
Okay, that answers my other questions, so you did great, thank you.
That was a great question. That was very good. Just one comment, I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So we have the Rosewood Station apartment on Audie Road in Happy Valley. We have the Town Center Courtyards on Southeast 85th and Happy Valley. We have the Blossom and Community Hillside Park on Hillside Court in Milwaukee. And then we have the Park Place Clackamas Heights, formerly Clackamas Heights, as those are the units. Now, folks can't take the voucher and go somewhere else, is that correct? Or I want to understand that correctly.
Correct. These are all project-based vouchers.
Okay.
So unlike our tenant-based vouchers, which allow you to choose a unit, these are attached to the specific property. So anyone applying on this list would be selected for a voucher at the property, and it is not mobile. It would not move with the tenant.
All right, that makes sense. And then the one that Commissioner West talked about, Town Center Courtyard, is one that's alcohol and drug-free housing, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. It's very exciting, very
Yeah.
exciting. So it's great to hear positive information come forward about that. A lot of opportunities for folks, and particularly in a really difficult financial time for so many people. So if there's no other questions or comments, did you have one more, Commissioner?
I do. Sorry, another process question. It looks like these units range between 1 to 3 bedrooms.
Yes.
So, everybody's going to have different needs depending on who is applied. So does somebody's name, just process-wise, they get drawn out of the lottery, and then they say, okay, this is a good fit for, this is a mother with 2 children, they're going into the 3-bedroom, and now we only have so many, and then are we immediately kind of placing how does that work? Because a single individual may not need the 3-bedroom. How does that work to place people appropriately in the right units?
It works just as you said. So the unit size is based on the household size.
Okay.
So a single individual would obviously go into a 1-bedroom or a studio. There would be circumstances, especially with those with disabilities or elders, where they may have a live-in caregiver. There would be a process to ensure an accommodation for a larger size unit if it met those requirements. So we look specifically at the household size and line them up for the specific vacancy available. Obviously, when we're doing a larger lease-up, like Blossom and Community or the new Clackamas Heights when it opens, we have more opportunities to match those units, but generally, we're looking at that list and the vacancies and the household size and matching them up. So we're not calling a single person for a 3-bedroom unit.
If we know somebody's living in an RV or an encampment, are our outreach workers would we go directly out and find that individual if we found housing for them? Or how do we stay in touch if they're not going to have the technology resources to apply online, what Commissioner Salvas just got to?
We would use our outreach workers, et cetera, if there's someone on our by name list, to go and do our best to be in contact with that person and provide them every opportunity to move in.
Cool, thank you.
Right. One more question, Commissioner Salvas?
Yeah, I love when this is all done, just to find out how many people, I'm sure you'll tell us, applied and, what the oversubscribed number is, so that'd be great. I do have one question, somewhat related to another item we're going to talk about today. Blossom and Community, how was that name acquired?
We were just talking about this ourselves, and then the name pre-existed my taking over this role as the executive director. It's the moniker that we're calling the building right now, but I don't think there was a intensive formal process. We are in the process of creating a document regarding, a policy regarding naming, because I think that and having community involvement, having a clear process for how we go about naming is extremely important. So we'll be adopting a naming policy shortly. Mary will get a chance to review that, and we're happy to share that with you before we adopt an internal policy.
So the name of Hillside is probably going to be something in history.
I believe we would like to name the entire community, not just the individual building. So right now, Blossom and Community refers to a particular individual building, but part of the impetus, in addition to Clackamas Heights, is we would like to be able to name the entire housing community as Hillside Park. And whether that is retained or whether we choose to do something different, we want to go through a process to do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there's no other comments, this is informational-only update today, so we'll move on. I'll now adjourn as the Housing Authority Board and convene as the Extension 4H Service District Board of Directors. And I'll turn to Gary.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Leenstra, for joining us. I want to make one closing comment to staff as they just walked away. The Board of Commissioners or Board of Directors makes all decisions on any naming of any owned property of the board. So staff, they will be the final decision makers. We have that policy for the county, NC, PRD, and West, and clearly we have to make sure all the other special districts have it too. I know you're on it. Thank you very much, staff. All right, with that, Chair, would you please convene as the Extension 4H Service District? Or did you already do that?
Yeah.
I apologize, you did
Yes.
that, sorry. You're now meeting as the Extension and 4H Service District of Clackamas County. Proposed Budget Committee bylaws for the Extension and 4H Service District. Nancy Bush, County Operating Officer, will present. Go ahead, please, Nancy.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. So before you today, you have the Clackamas County Extension of 4H Service District Budget Committee bylaws. The bylaws are recommended for all districts in Oregon law. And as we've been going through the districts and at OSU, we realized that there's a lot of confusion. There was a lot of confusion between what the Budget Committee did and what their advisory committee did. So we worked with the staff there at OSU, at the Extension as well as at OSU, to develop these bylaws. So we're here today to have you take a look at these and ask any questions and hopefully approve them.
All right, any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. So, I know my memory's not perfect, but what seems unusual to have bylaws for a budget committee? So can you enlighten me? I'm a little confused because it speaks to officer positions, and yet budget committees are prescribed by state law, right? On some of the stuff that's out. So how is that going to be
So
resolved or reconciled between state law, budget law, but for a budget committee, that seems to makes sense for the district, but for the budget committee.
So I may have to have a little
I
bit of
can
help with that.
assist. This is an advisory board to you, and so we're following prior board direction. All county advisory boards, including budget committees, must have bylaws. And we, of course, follow what state law states about public board budget committees. So we're doing both. We're following state law, and we're doing what the board directs us. Every advisory board, of which budget committees are also advisory boards, needs to have bylaws. And so the others do have bylaws. And in fact, this group had existing bylaws that were out of compliance. We're bringing them back to compliance. Thank you.
Anything else, Paul?
No, I haven't been on a citizen-based budget side of the committee since 1998 or something like that. So I've been on the board, so thanks.
You bet. Commissioner Schrader.
So these are new bylaws in compliance, and so have we heard from Extension at all in terms of, well, there's no one here today, just.
No, they were a part of the process of
Okay.
developing these bylaws. You're right, there's no one here today, but they
Okay.
were part of this process.
Okay.
And their advisory group also looked at those as well as OSU Extension
Okay,
at the OSU level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this gives us some clarity then.
Yes,
Who's the
yes.
district
There's
board
been
of
a lot of
directors
confusion
versus?
between advisory and budget, and as Gary said, we're bringing this into line.
Okay, thank you.
All right. No other questions? May I have a motion?
I move we approve the proposed extension and 4-H Service District Budget Committee bylaws.
Second.
All right. Director Helm has moved to approve the proposed extension of 4-H Service District Budget Committee bylaws. Director Savas has seconded that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Director West.
Aye.
Director Schrader.
Aye.
Director Savas.
Aye.
Director Helm.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I will now adjourn as the Extension and 4-H Service District Board of Directors and convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board of Directors. Gary?
Thank you, Chair. You're now meeting as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board. Next item, naming of Community Center and Park on Concord Road. Kia Selly, Director of North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, will present. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair Roberts and directors. My name is Kia Selly. I am the District Director for NCPRD. I'm here today before you to request board consideration of the NCPRD Naming Committee recommendation for naming of the NCPRD assets at the Concord property located at 3811 Southeast Concord Road. The board approved NCPRD's naming policy earlier this year in March. The policy includes specific guidelines for the naming process, starting with a public call for submissions, a committee to review and recommend a name that is comprised of committee members and staff, as well as review of the recommended name by the District Advisory Committee. The policy was followed carefully for the recommendation before you today, and the District Advisory Committee approved a motion in support of this recommendation earlier this month. I will say that we put out a call to the community for name submissions for 45 days as per the policy. That was actually extended as per the DAC input. And this opportunity was shared broadly with media releases, marketing at parks and facilities, information on our website, emails to the community, and networking by community members. We received 102 naming submissions. The naming committee, again comprised of community members and staff, unanimously voted in favor of recommending the name, drumroll, Concord Park and Community Center. This concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions? All right. Gary, did you have some comments?
Yes, so
here?
you have received some feedback with alternative names for this center, and many of those members are in the audience. Thank you for being here today. I have a proposal, and I'm sorry, Kia, I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about this. I recommend you have a board meeting of the North Clackamas Parks and Rec District Board next Wednesday. I suggest if you advance this, don't decide today, put this on that agenda and have a public discussion item so you could hear from the community to help you make your final decision. But it is your final decision, as we just talked about, on naming any property. But I think there's members of the public who have some feedback for you to consider that they won't be able to comment today.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, initially I didn't have a question. I actually had more of a comment, and what I wanted to say was in the last couple weeks or so, I've had 4 people approach me, whether by email or in person, and suggest 4 different things. So, and, there's one group here today, I think that might be, leaning on one or the other. I can't speak to for everyone here in the room today, but, so the question I do have, in recognition of this is actually 2. Number 1 is that from the time it was determined as to what the committee came up with, unanimous decision for community or Concord Park and Community Center, what has been broadcast to the people or the public? Or is this just being the drum roll? It's really now it's being put out there. Okay.
Thank you for that question, Director Savas. So the committee met in June, and then the committee, I represented the committee and presented the recommendation to the DAC, the District Advisory Committee, in July. They approved a motion in support of this recommendation to all of you. So staff have not named the site or referred to the site in any other way other than the Concord property. If there has been any reference to this new name, it would have been an error, but the intention has been that staff would present this recommendation to the board on behalf of the naming committee, and it would be the board's decision.
And the other question I have is that I know that we have a timeline in order to get the signage completed and up, and so we can't go months and months and months. So what is that window of?
Well, thank you for bringing that topic up. So the grand reopening of the site is slated for this fall. October 18th is the tentative date for that grand reopening. And so staff are concerned that marketing materials, as well as just signage fabrication, will take time. And so there is some pressure there, but we could just call it the Concord property and leave it at that until the board makes a decision. So I don't want to artificially accelerate the process. If you want to take your time, we'll do what we can, but it would be optimal to get this process completed, for sure.
Okay, and then maybe if you're not the best person to answer this question, Gary, what is the grand opening for the library?
It is Saturday, October, I'm delaying as I pull up my calendar, Saturday, October 18.
So the same day?
October 18, we're intending to do a ceremony for both on the same day.
Okay, all right. And the name landed for the library?
I don't remember if you've discussed that yet, have you?
I don't remember doing
I don't remember. No, you have not approved, well, I have to go back and check, I don't remember.
Okay,
All right.
just asking.
Commissioner West.
So it's, can you just review who makes up the committee that is that's giving a suggestion to us for a name?
Thank you for that question, Director West. So the naming committee included 7 members. So as director, I sat on that committee. The deputy director position or a designee was also on that committee. That was Melina DiFrancesco, sat in for our deputy director since that position has been eliminated at NCPRD. Lyndon Newman, representing Jennings Lodge, participated. Josh Fisher, Ben Cox. Josh Fisher is on the District Advisory Committee, Ben Cox represented Oak Grove Community. Trent Wilson from PGA sat in for the tribal liaison, since we were not able to get a tribal liaison participating. Mitzi Olson with the Library District also sat in because the library is co-locating on that site. So that was the 7 members, and then we also had a facilitator that facilitated the committee discussion.
And it's ultimately the board's decision, whatever direction we go in on naming it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so I know you didn't quite answer Commissioner's Office's question, but if we were going to move in a way that was beneficial to the signs and being practical with what we're doing and to move forward, and what would that time frame loosely look like? Weeks, months?
By the end of this month.
By the end of this month. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, so, look, we can put up a temporary sign, don't worry about the signage.
Don't worry, okay.
We can put up a temporary sign if you take the time you need to make a decision. But yeah, to order the marble plaques and such, it's next week. But we have time if you don't make a decision by next week.
Okay, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Okay.
Commissioner Helm.
Well, that was partially my question, too. So if we were to take Gary's suggestion to push this out to the next meeting next week, it probably would not affect sign ordering or anything, correct?
You're okay, because
Right.
still next week is okay.
And then the second part of my question is, because these are opening on the same day, and some of the communication we've received from citizens is that they kind of want it all named together. So the library along with the park and the community center. So I guess that's a little confusing. Are we supposed to be naming the library separate, or is it considered one kind of cumulative thing?
So thank you for that question, Director Helm, because I think there is some confusion around this. So the name before you today is to name the NCPRD assets, the park and the building. Because NCPRD doesn't own, will soon not own that library property, the library actually is a distinct entity. Even though they are co-locating on the site, they actually will own the property underneath their building. And out of respect, of course, for the library and their autonomy, they have the right to name their library separately. So this is just to name the NCPRD assets. We're not referring to the site. I suspect the community will call the site something like the Concord site because they'll generally refer to it, but it is just for the NCPRD assets.
All right, and then just one more follow-up, because I appreciate everyone who has written a letter. Everyone has a great idea. That's the hard part. There's so many great names, and I like them all. That's the problem. But I also think it's a disservice to the naming committee to override what they have chosen. Not that we're making a decision today, but I mean, I've sat on advisory committees for many months at a time, and at the end, they do something completely different than what was suggested, and you go, why did I just waste my time doing that? So but I do understand other people have very passionate views, and I understand that, because it's your community center, so I get it. But, yeah, we have a tough job here, right?
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader?
Well, I'm just going to make an interesting suggestion. I was wondering, with the opening at this library, we've had 2 new libraries. I was just thinking of some of my favorite books and maybe donating that, and maybe all of us might, I was going to do an ask. Maybe we'd like to pick one of our favorite books, put something, from the commissioners and have them put in the library. Just as kind of a memorial, just to say that we did that.
Good idea.
So I'm gonna get some of my favorite books, guys, and so let me know if you wanna, if that's okay with folks. I think it'd be a nice idea. And we might want to consider doing it with other libraries throughout the county. I mean, it isn't too expensive. I guess we can give books away, can't we, Gary? That would not be a.
Let's talk more about that. Your meeting is NCPRD board right now.
So Gary, I was going to call
Yes, I want to
you next.
reaffirm what Kia said. So you have 2 different facilities on the same property, but you're talking about NCPRD right now, the Concord, whatever you call it, former school, library. Dan Johnson and I are texting madly here. We think the board did approve Oak Lodge Library to retain the current name, but we're going to confirm that, and if not, we'll bring it back to you. But please, that's a separate item under the Board of Commissioners, so thank you.
Okay, great.
Clarification.
And Commissioner Salas?
Yeah, a couple, 3 weeks ago, one of the members of our community who's in the audience came and testified, and the thought that was running through my head at that time was, geez, what if we just took the top 5 or 6 names out there and had Media, Carpenter now, formerly Pamplin, just do a poll survey and say, here are the top ideas, because the 100 and some odd people that submitted didn't know of probably all the other ideas out there, right? No one really saw them other than the review committee. But I know I don't want to belabor it. I don't want to go on, this endless thing. So we're not going to make everyone happy, right? It'll be a decision where, a few, hopefully, ideally, more people will be happy than unhappy. But I don't really want to drag it out. But I just wonder if there's an opportunity in the next 5 or 6, 7 days to maybe ask Carpenter Media and kind of make it part of the promotion, right? Hey, we're going to name this thing. Here's the top names that have been submitted. What do you all think? The board of directors is going to consider this on July 24th? No, 28th? 30th, yeah. So I think there's enough time there to help influence our decision a little bit and leanings and make sure we actually do it a larger sampling. Just a suggestion. That was going through my head 2 or 3 weeks ago. There would have been more time to do that, but there still may be time to do that.
All right, I think we're at a point here of kind of two options. So I would turn to my colleagues if anyone wants to make a motion.
Do we need a motion?
It would help, yes. There's two options for you in your script.
I move we place this item on the July 30th NCPRD Board of Directors meeting agenda for final consideration.
And,
I'll second that.
right. Director Helm has moved to, sorry about that there. Moved to place this item on the July 30th North Clackamas Parks District Board of Directors meeting agenda for final consideration. It's been seconded by Commissioner Savas. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Director Schrader.
Aye.
Director West.
Aye.
Director Savas.
Aye.
Director Helm.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I will now adjourn. Yes.
Before we adjourn, I move that we direct staff to inquire media, see if they can't do a short survey between now and July 30th to run the top 5 names.
Gary, do we need a motion on that, or can we
Yes,
just direct
but
staff?
only the former Pamplin media, or could we do our own through PGA online? Could we do that too?
Sure, I don't care. Yeah, doesn't have to be,
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, so in that case, you don't need a motion, but go forward.
Okay.
Either way, a
Okay.
motion or not, we'll do a survey through
Yeah,
PGA
well, I think we have
online
the
with the
direction
community.
to staff to do that.
I think it'd just be another one to let people know it's coming, so it's added media, added promotion
Okay.
opportunity.
We will do that, yes.
Right. So thank you. I will adjourn as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Gary?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, one more loop back. So this will be, can we make this a public discussion item next Wednesday, Chair? Would that be okay, so the public can give you feedback at the
Yes.
meeting? Okay. We'll do that for next Wednesday. We'll do a survey between now and Wednesday. But the intent is, commissioners, directors, you'd make a decision next Wednesday.
Yes,
So,
we promise, Gary.
One clarification, I know the packet shows 5 names, and number 5 is Ah Bing, and I understand, the history of that, but I just thought that the name that the committee came up with, which is a reiteration of number 2, was putting park in front of community center. So maybe it ought to be community, include the one that the committee came up with was Concord Park and Community Center. So if we want to do all 5 plus 1, that's 6, but I didn't want I want to be clear that my intention was not to use the 5 in the packet,
Okay?
but to include the one the committee came up with, which is not part of the 5.
Understood.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Commissioner West.
I appreciate the 5 names. I don't think they should be restricted to the 5 names. I think there is some potential feedback we're still getting. And so I don't know if that survey is ready for just those 5 names, to be honest. So,
Can
Commissioner Helm?
it include a couple more names that we've seen in?
You'd have to tell me now
I mean-
or later today.
sorry, I don't mean to just jump in here. My light's on.
Helm, well,
I think that there are community members here that have legitimate insight and perspective, that they have been very invested in this process since way before I have been engaged on this board, and their thoughts I value very deeply, and I think some of their thoughts have not been represented in these 5 names at this point. And I've heard some other things that this does not encompass quite where we maybe need to be. And I don't necessarily want to be restricted to 5. Those 5. I don't know if that's right.
So let me ask you, it sounds like maybe you're not ready to move forward on this at all, that we should reconvene the community group. Is that what you're asking?
I'm interested we could do the 5 names, but can I hear from the community members themselves that still want to give their insight and interject a little bit more? And then maybe that's next Wednesday, but that could influence what we go forward with.
Then we're
when-
still not making a decision next Wednesday.
Or I'd just like to hear from Thelma today. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that out loud? I know we're all sitting in the same room together.
Say that, so.
Yeah, I mean,
For purposes of a survey, to get meaningful information back to you in 6 days, I really need to know now what you want in the survey. As far as the names, you don't have to make a decision next week. I said you can do a temporary sign. Ideally, if you want the permanent sign and the building, I need that next week. Or we can do a temporary sign to buy you more time. For purposes of a survey, though, if the chair agrees, he can invite a member of the public to speak now, but you have other members of the public too, and you have a timeline to finish this session today. So, sorry, Chair, there's, I guess, for purposes of a survey, I need to know today.
But I don't think we have the information to have a complete survey put out, to be honest, and there are additional voices we need to hear from first.
I think if that's the case, Gary, it would appear that the second recommendation would be more appropriate, I guess, because that, I hate to go backwards.
Chair, would you reconvene as the North Clackamas Parks Board, please?
Right,
No,
right.
wait, I think we were. We never,
Yeah,
I caught him before he
You changed,
adjourned.
didn't you?
I think I almost finished my sentence before somebody
Okay.
said something.
Yeah, that was,
So
But I'll
you're still,
just-
go ahead,
still
please just
aboard.
do it, Chair, North Clackamas Board.
So, going back here, I'll reconvene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board of Directors.
Thank you.
So with that being said,
Director Savas has his.
I'm making sure I'm going through Commissioner Savas.
yeah. So I just have a suggestion. Again, I don't want to extend this. I don't want to make it more complicated. Commissioner West, I slightly disagree with you, and the aspect is that this was broadcasted for input. So the input has been out over there, and the information about what the name might be is the only new piece of information. And so some people that realized that they were not successful in or that their name was not, was the final recommendation are trying to take another opportunity to, influence a change. So I suggest this. I think we all know, we've seen the emails, and why don't we, just by end of day or sooner, submit what we think are the top 5 names each, and let staff work that out, what the top 5 are, and run with that for the survey. I think it's important to get it out there as soon
But
as
it doesn't
possible.
have to be the top 5 in the packet.
Not the 5, no. Each of us put our 5 top names. Let staff figure out, average out what the top 5 are that we submitted, and
Okay.
make those the top 5.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm fine with that. Does that help?
That helps. So send it directly to me or tell your policy advisor, and then I'll collect all of this so they can get the survey out tomorrow.
Are we able to share with one another like what our top 5 are?
Sure.
Okay. Or is that not allowed? Is that?
Don't serial vote. So just send it to me directly or tell your policy advisor directly. Or
Sorry,
have-
Jeff.
Gary, thanks for keeping them on track.
Not even for libraries.
I'm for library.
Right, can I now, I will now adjourn? Are we good?
Yes,
All
have
right.
direction. Thank you.
We're ready to move on. I'll now adjourn as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board of Directors and reconvene as Board of County Commissioners. Gary.
All right, thank you. You're now meeting as the Board of County Commissioners. Next item, Stabilization Center update. Mary Rumbaugh, Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, will present. Go ahead, please, Mary.
What's the name of that stabilization center?
We'll bring that to you. That will come to you eventually.
Maybe wisely, we just kept it as what it is. So, good morning again, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. I am excited to actually share a brief update about the Clackamas Stabilization Center, a joint project between the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and Health, Housing, and Human Services. This project is well underway for completion date of late October. So as a reminder, this program is located at the McBride Building in Milwaukee, which is the site of a previous community corrections residential program. And the Stabilization Center has 2 complementary programs. The first being a 23-hour crisis stabilization program, open 24/7, 365, with 8 recliners for individuals coming to the attention of law enforcement or the mobile crisis teams due to a mental health crisis. The individual will receive rapid assessment and stabilization in lieu of going to the emergency room or jail. Referrals are through the Sheriff's Office, local police departments, and mobile crisis response workers or teams. The provider for this program is a provider called Claire Vita. They're actually an Idaho-based provider who currently runs 12 adult as well as youth stabilization centers throughout Idaho. The other program, Housing and Case Management Stabilization, is a 13-bed program for individuals experiencing homelessness or housing instability and need more time to get connected to resources. Individuals can be in this program for up to 60 days. Referrals for this program is through the Coordinated Housing Access Line or directly from Clarvita, meaning that an individual needs a little bit more stabilization than what they can do within that 23-hour period on the other side of the program. And the provider for this program is the Father's Heart. The partnership with the City of Milwaukee and other law enforcement entities is critical to the success of this program. The City of Milwaukee and the Milwaukee Police Department are on our project team, and we meet twice a month. In addition, the police chiefs will also be doing their regular September chiefs meeting at the Stabilization Center. We'll do a tour, and they'll, if there's space, they'll actually do their monthly meeting there. As a reminder, the funding for the construction is through House Bill 5204. We received $4 million from the state legislature for this project. And ongoing funding for the 23-hour stabilization program is through Care Oregon, and for the Housing and Case Management Stabilization Program through Supported Housing Services Funds. I'm currently working with our PGA team on the date for the ribbon cutting, grand opening, whatever we decide to call it. Currently planned for the end of October or beginning of November, and we would expect to begin serving individuals no later than December. That is my brief update. Would welcome any questions or comments.
And Commissioner West has a question for you.
This is really exciting. And I think, I just feel like you just really nailed finding good providers that we can work with well in this much-needed asset. So thank you for that work. So it's two different providers. It's stabilization for 23 hours, and it's almost like a respite transitional housing component to this, almost like a dorm style.
Yes.
Am I right? Am I understanding that correctly? And so within our care continuum, a lot of the big pieces within appropriate housing for individuals that have these struggles is that transitional piece. Can you, am I describing that correctly, how this is like a transitional housing piece that stabilizes people with housing and intensive services right there with them?
Yeah. I mean, I think, there are other stabilization centers that have been lifted up in Oregon. We are unique in which we have some of that transitional support. So what we do know from existing stabilization centers on the 23-hour side, both Deschutes County as well as Clarvita and their data in Idaho, the average length of stay for those programs are actually 11 hours. Most people are able to, again, low stimulus environment, able to stabilize. So what's really unique about our project is the fact that we have that complementary side. So if that individual who came to our attention in that mental health crisis needs longer, or we begin identifying that they don't actually have a stable housing situation that we think is going to, help support their road, their pathway to recovery, then the beauty is that we'll be able to make that direct referral from Clarvita over to the Father's Heart. So very unique in that relationship, as well as then separately that identification of those individuals with housing instability, or actually houseless, where they just need that longer stabilization. So I am not calling it a shelter. It is not a shelter. It is really that short-term respite, for lack of a better term, is probably a better example, but it's really about just a little bit more time to get stabilized and really get connected to services. So really a unique partnership that nobody else has.
Mary, am I correct that it has a very strong treatment component to it? You're not just sitting in a recliner having iced tea. Like and could you speak to the licensed professionals that will be on site managing people's care?
Yeah, it will be a combination of a licensed clinician as well as case managers and peers. They will have a psychiatrist on call 24/7. That's sort of one of the requirements. But it really is meant to be low barrier and really, frankly, low cost. So the state is currently working, they've paused the rules mainly because they almost made it too much like a residential, and it just increases the cost significantly. What we do know for these individuals is they need somebody who understands that they're in a mental health crisis. They can do some of that basic screening and then, understand what services they currently have and then connect them to ongoing services post-discharge.
Is there any on-site nursing services? Is any type of medication administered? at these
Very,
sites?
very, very low level, but yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there will be an LPN or an RN on site?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Not seeing any other questions. Thank you for the update. And this will be information only today, and we'll move on. So thank you very much, Mary, for
Thank
coming
you.
today. Gary?
Thank you. Next is 30-year financial forecast and outside audit. This was an item from the County Budget Committee. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, and Cindy Becker, Project Manager in County Administration, will present. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. Today, we're going to talk about a request for a 30-year forecast codification and an audit on that. So I wanted to start with a little bit of background. 5 years ago, we created a 30-year forecast, but actually it was 35 years because what we wanted to do was to look at our cash flow and how it would work over the time of paying for the courthouse. And we have about 18 different variables that we put into this forecast. So each year, it's been decreasing. So right now, we're in our first year of paying for the courthouse. And so now it is a 30-year. Plus, we have an additional year at the end to see how the forecast, the cash flow will recover after the final payment. In December of '24, this board approved a policy to have a 5-year forecast. So we do have that included in the 30-year, and then we just continued that out. So today, we're requesting your direction on codifying a 30-year forecast to continue that, even though following the continuation of the payment for the courthouse, and then also to have that forecast audited annually.
Right. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing this back to us, and I'm leaning towards the Budget Committee direction, which I believe is best reflected under option 1, which states direct staff the draft new code language requiring a 30-year forecast and update the budget development policy. In addition, I think it was a separate motion, in addition to that effort, there was about an annual auditing the actual forecast process, and the reasoning, the rationale behind that was to make sure that any assumptions that are embedded in there are realistic, right? And I'm not sure that, as I was talking to a couple of folks who were part of the development of this, including the Treasurer's Office staff, that there were some assumptions built into the 30-year forecast with regard to, and also the contract. So the contract itself for the P3, right, the maintenance and operations contract, that there's some market fluctuations in there. So perhaps there's some accelerators or inflationary aspects that could play a role. So that's why I think it's number 1 imperative to have the 30-year forecast. Number 2, have it audited to make sure the assumptions line up with, the contract aspects going forward as we manage this 30-year cycle. And I know, as you stated indirectly, Elizabeth, that, we started in year 35 or 5 years ago with a 35-year forecast. And I think it's a good idea to actually continue it for 30 years for a while to at least get us an idea what the forecast for the budget looks like after the courthouse is paid off, right? After we make those payments. Because what I don't know is, I'm curious as to what the ongoing maintenance of the courthouse will be post-payment, right? It's embedded in the contract. So once that becomes our responsibility, I'd like to get an idea what that cost is so we can understand. We're not going to be here in 30 years, but, the board can understand what our finances look like going forward. So a rolling 30 years, what I'm really saying. As opposed to, now it's a 29, now it's a 28, now it's a 27, so on. So that's my suggestion for now. But there's other lights on, so I'll wait before I make a motion.
All right. Commissioner Helm?
What is the time investment difference between number 1 and number 2, where we bake the language into the 30-year financial forecast and update the budget development policy versus updating only the budget development policy? Tell me the difference between those two.
So the first one is with putting the 30-year forecast into county code.
County code, so it's baked into county policy, yeah. Or
County
to-
code, which
county
is,
code.
yeah, which is different than policy. I mean, they
Policy,
should
okay.
align, but yeah. So you have the vehicle today in county policy that if you wanted to just amend the policy, you're good to go. If you want to put it in code, there's a whole process and public hearings and everything to go into code. So it's just a different process.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner West.
So if help me out, Commissioner Savas. So municipalities, city governments, counties, we're on a one-year budget cycle. And then best practice is to have that 5-year forecast, maybe 10 to 20 years, if we're looking at, please correct me if I'm wrong, pension liabilities and things like that. And then it gets really speculative when we get too far out, and it becomes quite burdensome to kind of adhere to something that, I mean, we don't have any way to even know if it's accurate. And so many things can happen within the economy, so many things happen with that time frame of just 5 years alone. So it's hard to really understand the benefit of the 30-year piece as a tool, Commissioner Savas. And I just would like to hear your expound on that a little bit. And I know maybe we need a little bit longer because we're talking about a large piece of infrastructure that we have to be able to afford in the long run. This is not the thing that I'm an expert in. I'm not a finance expert, but I'm trying to find that practical, happy medium where we're being very intentional about the need to pay for this courthouse moving forward without the ability to bind future boards to anything.
Right.
While also sticking to best practices and not being overly speculative. I don't know if we have struck that balance here today yet. And I would love I trust your insight on public financing greatly, Commissioner Savas. I don't know if you could maybe speak to that, or if the board has any thoughts on that right there, on that concern or question.
Chair, if I may respond?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
sorry.
if I understood what your question is, or your intent, what you're trying to ask for, I would say that just look back at, May 27 of this year when we sat down and we had the 30-year forecast put before us, and with the budget reflecting that, had we approved the budget as it was presented, within 10 or 11 years, we would have been upside down by $250 million at the end of 30 years. That's not a trajectory that's responsible, and that concerns me. My experience being here on the county commission, and it's political, is that, colleagues, including myself to some degree, you might have an aspiration to see something happening or to build something, or right? So, if it's Christmas in July, or it's Christmas in December, or Christmas in 2026, whatever it may be, we can't afford to do everything that we all want to do. We all want to aspire to build something or whatnot, or have something for the community. So I think that we have to have some kind of a vision. Granted, 30 years out there is foggy. The idea of having it audited for the assumptions to make sure there's least amount of fog, that there's the 1% in the inflationary rate difference, what the contract says, is millions and millions of dollars. So having that coincide and having it audited to make sure it's as close as possible will not only give the future board and ourselves an idea where we are, but we don't want to put ourselves on a trajectory of failure, right? If we went 5 years or 10 years on 200 and building a budget that is going to go upside down in 10 or 12 years, it's hard to dig out of that hole. That's a huge hole to dig out of. So, and yet, you heard us talk about this before, the 1 year aspect, the forecast of the 30-year forecast is just as accurate as a 1 year forecast, right? And same thing with year 5. The year 5 of a 30-year forecast is going to be honed in. It's not, it shouldn't be any different, right? And year 6 and year 7, but you're right, it is foggy. But again, going back to what the Budget Committee voted on to put it in county code versus a policy, there's policies that the board has, put in place and ignored some policies, right? So having it in code, I think, would be, I think the intent was, and I think the budget committee members discuss, is that it's holding us as accountable as possible, that not doing it would be a violation of code, not a violation of policy. So that's more substantial to violate code. It'll keep staff and everyone honest that it's in code. So if anything's got importance to me, it's code and annual audits by an outside auditor to make sure our assumptions are correct.
And I guess my concern is because it is so nebulous and foggy that far out, holding ourselves to it could also be a detriment to the well-being of the county over that 30-year period. And, it is alarming when we got that budget number to see $250 million in the red. I about choked, right? That was not easy to see. But at the same time, are we being practical in our efforts to make sure that we can still have some nimbleness to function as a county within our budget? Is 30 years, I think it's a pretty strict and noble goal, what you're saying. We share that, Commissioner. But what does it look like in practicality and function to continue to force that 30-year projection? And are we being not nimble enough because we don't have the ability to maybe do a 10-year or stick to the 5-year? Am I missing something with?
I think so, but,
Okay.
I think so because we're going to have that you're going to get that accuracy no matter what. Whether you believe a 10 years the best or a 5 years the best or a 3 years the best, you're going to have that. That's part of the 30-year. Just take those scissors, is my comment, take those scissors and cut it and isolate or shade the area that you think is the best forecast. It should be as accurate. But without it, is it not just irresponsible to just turn a blind eye to it and ignore it?
Like that 30-year didn't happen?
Yeah. Because
I've never heard any board like ours do this. 30 years is a really long time.
These payments are unprecedented.
I know, but
That financial obligation is
I
unprecedented.
just
That's why
watched
we're
every
doing this.
county and city go through this, and this seems to be, I'm not saying it's not wrong, I don't know, sorry.
Yeah, I want to give Commissioner Schrader a chance to comment.
So this is a public-private partnership lease, and it has been done in other areas of the country with other courthouses. So there is a pathway. My concern is I can see why you want to put it in the code, but is it necessary? I'm hearing what Ben has said, and like I said, things get murky in 30 years. And we are a board that practices, I think, very good fiscal management and stability. But when things change, would this be hampering the flexibility of future boards? So I can see why you want to have it codified, but I guess my question would be, why wouldn't just a solid policy be enough to make that same thing happen? How would having it in the code really hamper the nimbleness they may have to have if you've got to, kind of fiscally rearrange things, and that may very well happen. Now, in terms of an outside audit, I actually think that's a great idea. I'm fine with that. To me, that's absolutely good. For me, it's like, can it be, why would we do it in code? Why isn't budget policy enough to really just maintain the stability?
Chair, I have a great answer for that.
Yeah, okay.
Keep it short, 'cause I don't want to get to her.
Yeah, I'll just answer it real quick, and that is, I'm not going to pick on Gary, so I got a lot of respect for Gary, but, a year ago, we had a clear policy that thou shalt bring forth, right, a financially sustainable, fiscally, structurally sound budget, period, at budget season, and this time we didn't, right? So it was policy, and the policy was not followed through on, and so in hindsight, what came to me is that policy isn't enough. And like I said earlier, the board is guilty, and not just us, and it's not a crime, but we establish policies, but we don't follow them. When it's in code, it's more set in stone that thou shalt follow. And a future board can change it. The board can change the code. It's a lot more, there'll be hearings, and you'll have to justify it. I'm just concerned about people not having a financial sense and saying, you know what, I want a palace.
Shiny object, yeah.
I want a palace somewhere in Clackamas County, and we can't really afford it, but therefore, if we just ignore the 30-year forecast or the 10-year forecast, we can actually spend down our reserves and afford it. That's what I'm concerned about.
Commissioner Helm.
Okay.
Well, I agree that we need to strike a balance. I worry putting it into code there's things we're not going to know years down the road, and I don't think it does give us the nimbleness that we would need. I lean towards the second option, which is, making it the budget development policy to require it, and holding Gary's feet to the fire, and making sure that we're checking in with it. Who sets the policy and who enforces the policy? That would be us, right? So we would not be doing our jobs if we were allowing that to slip through the cracks. So one more question then for staff on this is, give us the biggest number one or two drawbacks by putting it into code versus policy?
I think, if I could, I think it comes down to context. The 30-year forecast was only done for the courthouse. And basically, we've researched all sorts of jurisdictions. I haven't seen anything that does any place that does a 30-year forecast for the very reasons you talked about. After a few years, the numbers become just, we hope. And we continue to, the finance, every time something new comes up, they put it into the forecast. I mean, they're very careful about that. I think we're talking about a hope that we have the financial wherewithal. We did have a structurally sound budget for 5 years, even though it was, in 30 years, it was a big issue. It becomes a question of timing. How much is enough? And, I think the other thing I would just say is, if you look at HR, you're pulling things out of code now into practice. So trying to figure out what should be in code, what should be in policy. Maybe that's the conversation, because on one hand, you're pulling stuff out of code, and here you're putting stuff into code, and so it gets a little confusing. And code, I'm thinking, is supposed to withstand the test of time. Yet this 30-year forecast was related to a project, which when it's done, I don't know about you, but I'll be dead. So you just have to figure out where your preferences are. Policy is very important to people, and it's really it's a judgment call on your part.
Yeah, if I could just make a comment, then I'll go to Gary. I'm going to have the same concern, just that 30 years is so long. And I mean, I'm sorry, I boil it down to simple things sometimes. It's like, anybody want to project what gas is going to be in 30 years, right? I mean, I don't think we thought it'd be as expensive as it is today. And that can have such the sheriff's office's fuel budget's over $1 million. So, right, that alone can, if there's something in Iran or Iraq or whatever, can really change things that are unanticipated. The second concern I kind of have is really having an audit come in and a firm wanting to put their name on a document saying that this is accurate. I think I would be surprised if somebody wants to do that, because their reputation is on the line as far as saying that this is our 30-year forecast. And so I really understand what you're trying to get at, Commissioner Savas, about doing our very best to kind of project the future. And I also see what you're saying about this 5-year forecast and 10-year forecast. And I just see it as a challenge, and maybe putting us in a position where there's kind of some false expectations that we can't meet. And I guess that's my concern. I know Gary's wanted to make a comment too. Gary.
Yes, hello. So I'm your budget officer in addition to your county administrator, and I proposed a budget to you that was not solid for 30 years, and I put you all in a spot. I did not mean to do that, but I did, and I told you I was going to do it, but not very much notice, and I own that, and that was my mistake. I do feel that this motion by the Budget Committee is a bit extreme on a mistake I made. So I work for the 5 of you. I will never make that mistake again as long as I'm the county administrator. You don't need to put it anywhere because I will never do it again. But I understand the need to codify it somehow. I'm disappointed to hear the allegation that policy is not being followed. I mean, if policy is not being followed here, you should terminate me right now. I'm not asking you to do that, but you should. If you have evidence of that, tell me, and I will follow up on that. To me, a policy code, I don't care where it is, it's clear what the direction is of the board. I do think the code is more complicated to do it, as you heard, 2 public hearings, period of time, and the same to reverse it. So if you are asking my opinion, which you're not, but I'm going to give it to you, I would say the policy is probably enough to make sure it's done, as long as I'm your administrator. And when you have the next administrator, you make it clear to that person what you expect. I'm not going to speak for you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth has informally talked to 2 outside firms. They will not do an audit for 30 years. They will not.
Okay.
The assumptions are it's too
Can't do that.
nebulous. So we could try and find someone that will. That's not to say you shouldn't ask us to do that, but it'll be difficult to find an external financial auditor that will do that work. So I respect all of you, and you especially Commissioners, all of you, and Commissioner Savas. I made a mistake, and I own that. So please don't make this extreme reaction to something I did wrong, because I won't do it again. Thank you.
Commissioner West.
So I'm going to be honest, I'm on the fence on this. And this is a really good conversation to have and have it publicly, and it's not an easy conversation. But I'm really proud of this county. We were the only major jurisdiction to not be severely in the red. And that we're not reeling like our neighbors. We're not reeling like Portland, Multnomah County, Washington County in the same way. We have been very smart and judicious, and really were addressed our problems head on. So I'm really proud of that, and I think we just maybe have a little bit different way of how to do local government than those jurisdictions do. And I think that we need to recognize that I think this county has come a long way, and we're proud of those standards that we hold here. Those standards are important, and it builds public trust, and we need that more than ever right now. Maybe we have been considered a little too extreme by others. We were the county that would not cow to Metro when we got SHS dollars and told to spend money when we had no idea how much money we were going to get. We were demonized in the papers. Other electeds came for us. The pressure campaign was on. People filled this room with signs. This board held to its standard. And now we are the gold standard on how to manage SHS dollars. And people probably thought we were a little wrong then, but we weren't. We held to our guns. We were principled. And now we are the gold standard on how to manage those funds and how to help those people. And we help people more effectively than anywhere else in the metro area because of those first principles. So I really do feel like that I'm not afraid to step out and to do something outside the norm because public trust is so rocked right now and so cratered in a way that we need to maybe do some of these things. And I absolutely trust the wisdom of Commissioner Savas on these financial budget issues. I just do. I don't know. So I'm totally on the fence here. And my question is, after that, sorry, the long soliloquy, but is specifically a forecast, is there anywhere we see that by ordinance? Do other jurisdictions do forecasts by ordinance, or would this be unique to our county doing things kind of the Clackamas way? I don't know if staff knows the answer to that, but how common is it to put your financial forecast into an ordinance?
I've not heard of it before.
This would be new. And we've established that the length of time is what is really traditionally beyond what we could call predictable. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. I'm still on the fence. I want to do really good, bold local budgeting practices, and I want us to be stable and continue to be a gold standard in this. I guess I don't know if this is it. I'm not saying it's not, Commissioner Savas, but I'll yield back.
One more comment, and then Paul, I'll go to you. Commissioner Schrader?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Gary. You did not make a mistake. You did what you were asked to do. and there was non-agreement on the board because we saw those numbers. But you did something that you were asked to do by a sitting member, and you are administrator, and it was up to us to make the decision that, no, adding, kind of doing that and putting us in a bad spot in 11 years was not going to be tenable, and so it turned out okay. But I really want to make it clear publicly that, again, you get asked to do things sometimes, you do them, but it's up to us as the elected officials to say yes or no, and there are times we're going to disagree with each other on it, and that's just the way it's going to be. So thank you for your service, and I won't allow you to, I don't want you to say that when essentially you were doing your job. I am more inclined not to put it in code, but to make sure it is a part of our budget policy, again, because we're going to need to think that in the future that our electorate will continue in a conservative county to elect fiscally conservative members. And I don't, hopefully not seeing the culture of this, hopefully county changing that much in 30 years that we would put ourselves in the red. That's not who Clackamas County is, and that's like a big trust issue that they will do that. So it sounds to me like what we would do is, in my suggestion, I know you're on the fence, Ben, would be to make sure that we put it in our policy, but it sounds as if and I'm not a financial guru like Commissioner Savas, but then we do the rolling 5 to 10 years, which still gives us those, it incrementally is going to get us to 30 years, right? I mean, so that, what you're saying is that it's impossible to do the 30-year all at once, but you can get a certain real deal estimate, like with a rolling 5, and that will help guide you in the future about where we need to go with these payments and how we're going to manage that as a county. So as finance people, am I understanding that right? That do we really need a 30 or manage it with the 5, and that gives us enough information to get us through the years?
We are currently doing a 30-year forecast.
You are doing a
We
30-year
are,
forecast
yeah.
right now, too, but
Yeah.
you're also doing the rolling 5s that help inform. No,
Right now, it's, we have it 1 year past the last payment of the courthouse, so we can see how the financials recover.
okay. So
So
we
it's 31 years at this point, but it's covering the 30-year
Okay.
payment of the
So,
courthouse.
so we have that document, but
Yes.
what we're still doing, and I should have known that, but anyway, there you go. But when I think about it, the 30-year forecast, again, that means though you are going to have to give future budget policymakers who are elected officials in this county the flexibility to kind of manage. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. So what we're really dealing here is with a notion of trust that our wise electorate will continue to vote for people who don't, kind of want to manage money in a way that's going to keep this county solid.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
so, thank you. Finance is going to continue to do those forecasts.
Okay.
And clearly, it is up to the Budget Committee and ultimately the board
Right.
on looking at the impacts of the budget on the forecast 5, 10. You can slice and dice it any way you want. In the end, you want to be able to can you make your last payment or not? It's the same thing if you get a bond. You have to forecast, are you going to be able to pay for that over whatever time period it is? I think the question is whether or not you need to put it in code to do that. And so, because the work is still going to get done.
All right. Anything else there, Commissioner?
No, that's.
Commissioner Savas.
So first of all, I just want to clarify a couple things. Might be a nuance, maybe that's not understood, but you got to remember that the idea of the audit was a conversation that we had publicly with our auditor in front of us, and I also bounced this off of other auditors, and one being a friend of mine. And it's not that not that you audit the 30-year forecast, you audit the assumptions to make sure. I'm going to give you an example of where it's gone really, really, really bad, and it's very, very public. And late yesterday, I was speaking to one of the Oregon Transportation Commission commissioners who is, appointed by the governor, who is very financially savvy. And what went wrong with the Abernathy Bridge, for example, as far as the estimate, why it was a $250 million bridge, it's now $750, $800. He had some incorrect assumptions in the financing.
Okay.
Okay? The debt service for that is going to be 30 years, 25, 30 years, possibly more if they run into more financial trouble. The point is that they had the wrong assumptions, right? They didn't have the right inflationary numbers. They were unrealistic. The audit is not to audit the 30-year forecast. The audit is to audit the assumptions that go into it. Simply that, okay? I'm going to give you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, I'm going to give you another example. Maybe, and Commissioner Schrader, you were on the board at the time, and I remember, painfully remember, and Gary, you remember this too, when the former administrator, we were I've been arguing for a number of things financially to keep us in sound condition, and I think that we're in really a good shape compared to other governments, and that did happen by accident. But I followed the forecast. Always have followed the forecast. And there was one year in particular, Gary, you remember, Elizabeth, I think you remember, because you came in the aftermath, when the forecast was off by $13 million, okay? I knew that it was at least $10 million off. And the rest, the administrator, the former finance director, the former staff, everyone was saying, no, 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 no. You're wrong. It's not off. And I say, how could that be? Look at the actuals, carry that forward. How did this happen, right? And guess what? We were $13 million off. I didn't know the number exactly. I just knew it was at least $10 million. What was all that about? I don't know. I can presume, but one thing I do know is that we committed more dollars, okay, to certain departments. I'm not going to name any, because I don't want to be political here. It's not being political. I'm just being financial. Numbers are numbers. They don't lie, right? But the fact is we were off. We didn't follow our own policies that got us there, right? Another example where we actually have done this. When we approved the light rail project, you know where I was at. I didn't approve that. But we had the balloon payment. We still haven't made the balloon payment. That's been baked in, right? And so that was, what, 15 years ago, 13 years ago? So there's an example of a 15-year calculation looking ahead to make sure we can make that balloon payment. And if you remember some of those forecasts, and I do, they were 15, 20-year forecast. So there's nothing strange about this. By the way, when you buy a home, most people buy a 30-year mortgage, right? So if the public can manage their household finances and pay a 30-year mortgage, and granted, they're not using sophisticated forecasts, but you're not going to spend more than you can make and your income, and you're going to calculate that with your financial manager to make sure you're doing that, right? That's another example of practical budgeting. Granted, it's more complicated at our level, and that's why we need the help, and that's why we need to make sure we're looking. And I'll be a hard. Now the question is whether or not it's code. Really, I think that's really what is here today. That's another topic. So code or not code, I don't know. I'm just concerned about the examples of where we misstepped, right? And we turned our back, so to speak, to the policy, or maybe ignored it because it was politically convenient, because a certain department was asking for something, and we ended up with a forecast that ignored that. I'm just telling you, I was here. It happened. So because it happened, and because it happened again, and the misstep would have been $250 million, right, in 12 years we would have realized, I think it's ridiculous not to consider it. We can always roll the code back. That said, we're probably not going to get there. I suggest, because the Budget Committee made the motion, maybe we just ought to table this for now and bring it up at the next quarterly Budget Committee meeting to get their input. So, Chair, I move that we defer this till the next quarterly Budget Committee meeting.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you, Chair. I wanted to just comment on what Commissioner Schrader said about future boards. The reason we designed the 30-year forecast 5 years ago was so we could see how the cash flow was, use the assumptions, but then also, most importantly, understand how every decision we make every day impacts those 30 years. So I just wanted to make sure that,
Exactly.
keeping that in mind, I really appreciated you saying that, because it's the decisions today that impact that. It's not so much all the assumptions, it's, are they one-time, or are they ongoing costs? And so that's why that 30-year is so important
And
at this time.
we have to let people know that it's very important. They elect people who are going to be like the Paul Savises of the world. I mean, that's a friend plug. It's not a.
That's okay. Oh, that's fine.
Plug, okay.
Sorry, process-wise, you have a motion on the table,
Yes.
floor.
Right, so
You need a
I'll
second or not?
I'll second it.
No,
yes.
Paul,
Oh, for-
Paul
for-
made a
for
motion to
Paul's-
defer it
To defer to the next quarterly budget committee
Oh.
meeting.
next budget meeting,
And
so,
I'll second that. I'm fine with that.
budget meeting.
Let's bring our advisory board in.
Okay, so Commissioner Savas made a motion to defer it to the next budget meeting, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Further discussion?
My light's on.
I'm sorry? Go ahead.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, it does, okay.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, we could go back to the budget committee, that's fine, sure, but ultimately it's our decision. And I don't know if I need more information from the budget committee specifically. I would be more interested in like making a motion that is before us here, and then if we need further discussion, then fine on a motion. So I'm going to vote no on this motion because I don't need specifically more information from our illustrious, wonderful budget committee, who is fantastic, by the way, we're so lucky. But, so it's no indictment on them by any means. But I am fine with wrestling with this board making a decision with what's before us. And I think this is an awesome conversation to have publicly, that we're wrestling with this. I think it's super healthy. So that's where I am today.
Any further discussion? No. So I think we'll, clerk, call the poll.
Commissioner Helm,
No.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
No.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
No.
Motion fails, 2-3, Mr. Chair.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to update only the budget development policy to require a 30-year forecast.
I'll second that. Go down that road. Come on. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Helm has moved to direct staff to only update the budget development policy to require a 30-year forecast, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Any further discussion?
A clarifying question, would that or would that not factor in a annual audit of the 30-year budget assumptions?
It would
That's
not.
a
We have that as a
separate-
second
that's a
motion next.
second
Second
motion.
option next.
All right.
So we need another motion for that. Okay.
Yeah, so if there's no further discussion, I want to make sure nobody has anything, then I would call for a poll on this motion.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
No.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1, Mr. Chair.
All right, our next,
Chair, I need to take a small break.
okay, we'll take well, Gary, we're at a point where we have another conflict.
You have a
all of
lunch
us.
meeting and you have more items on issues. So do you want to first take a short break, but do you want to go to the lunch or finish issues?
And we're
You have a
supposed
full
to
af-
have
you
a
have a full
photo, we're
afternoon,
supposed
too.
to have a photo thing in there somewhere too,
Take a
before we
photo,
even
too.
leave for lunch.
So I think we're at a time, if we're trying to meet all these other obligations, we're going to have to adjourn
Go to the lunch.
and come back.
Well-
Suggestions, Gary?
We can finish the issues list after your lunch break, but you will have a fuller afternoon than you planned.
That's okay.
We'll just keep you going.
Do you want to do the second part of this, or no?
We're going to punt it till after lunch. So I would say just recess the
So-
meeting till after lunch.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and recess until after lunch.
1:30.
Till 1:30.
Or we're going to start at 1:30, finishing the issues list, and then we'll do the policy sessions.
All right, good afternoon. We will now reconvene as the administrator issues and updates, and I'm going to turn back to Gary as to where we left off and what's next.
Thank you, Commissioners. We are returning to issues. This is the 30-year financial forecast and outside audit. Elizabeth Comfort and Cindy Becker are presenting. When we left, you approved a motion to update the budget development policy to require a 30-year forecast. So the next discussion item then is to discuss the annual outside audit of the 30-year forecast.
All right, so we'll open the discussion for the outside audit. Did you want to make any comments, Cindy or Elizabeth, before we get started on that?
The only thing that I would like to say, Mr. Chair, is that clarification of that was helpful from Commissioner Savas, that you were talking about the assumptions,
Right.
not the numbers. So that whatever you decide, that's the language we'll use.
Okay. All right, comments, commissioners? Any comments?
Kind of reluctant to, coming off the losing end of the last discussion, I'm reluctant to say much, but, so it might just be one of those days, which is okay, so no pressure.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
The next motion is for the auditing portion, correct? So I move we not create a new chapter in county code to require an annual outside audit of the 30-year financial forecast.
All right, is there a second?
Well, I think we're going to go down. I'll second.
Commissioner Schrader, if you could please turn on your microphone.
There we go. Okay. I'll second that.
All right,
You can yell at me later.
commissioners move to create, not to create a new chapter in the county code to require an annual outside audit of the 30-year financial forecast, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Any further discussion?
Chair, I'm only going to ask maybe staff what their rationale is for, I heard a little bit earlier, so it's not that you didn't say anything, but I'm just trying to understand what impediment you think county code, putting it in county code would, I know it'd be a little bit more, I guess I'll use the word stricter, right? And it would have repercussions if we didn't follow it, which is, I think, why I made the motion initially in May. But I really want to know from you all what problem you see with something of this magnitude not being in code.
Well, I'll tell you my personal, and it's just me, it's kind of like when people ask us to vote on changing the Constitution, I take that really seriously, and there are very few things that I would change the Constitution for. And so I kind of think of code as this similar to that. So it's got to be a big deal to really, change the code. When we can already address this in policy, for me, I just didn't understand it, and I'm not aware of anybody else who has it in code.
Any other comments?
I have a comment. In my opinion, if someone violates the code or a policy, that is the same level of concern. They're not different to me. It's violating the direction of the Board of County Commissioners, whatever you call it. So to me, it's this, if someone is violating a policy or the code, that is serious.
Right.
They're not different levels of seriousness.
All right.
And sorry, the code is 2,000 pages. Do you know that? It's 2,000 pages. I'm sure prior staff have not followed the code by accident. It's not like we're monitoring that 1,000% of the time. There's a lot there, which is we're trying to simplify it, like you heard earlier on HR, making that more policy so it's more nimble and flexible. I just want you to know, Commissioner Savas, we're doing everything that you and the board wants to do. This is kind of semantics here, what you're calling it, but everything's going to be done, a 30-year forecast. If I may offer, I'll work with Elizabeth and Cindy. We will test the assumptions externally to make sure we're not missing anything. I fully support, we'll do that, no matter what you approve here on a motion. We will do that because we got to be as accurate as possible with our assumptions.
Yeah, and I would just like to add too, I think that just some of the thought I kind of have behind it is just that policies, violation of policies really do have teeth in them. And that is the direction. And if there's a violation of the policy, then that's something we can address. The other thing, the other reason I like it too, Paul, is just that it also can be more nimble. If we want to make something and a change in the policy a year from now, I believe it's going to be a lot easier to do it than trying to change the whole code. And we might see some things that you point out is just like, hey, look, let's add this as a point of policy. So Commissioner West has a comment.
Yeah, I mean, we may have the perception and feel that policy is the same as an ordinance, but the ordinance has the backing of law. There is deeper accountability within an ordinance. Yes, there's probably too many pages of ordinances, and it is probably pretty dense.
You're the governing body for both.
Right, correct, but there is just a different level of accountability, and I just look at like, we're surrounded in a state across the board, especially in the western part of the state, that very much struggles with having public trust and accountability now because all the budgets are upside down. I mean, you have the major department in the state fall into chaos because the legislature can't figure out its finances. It lost $1 billion, right? So we've had very serious struggles with the sheriff's office and the overall budget and having transparency and clearness and collaboration around that. So I get the sense of like, it may not be comfortable, but it might be the bold thing to do is to be, to bring that extra level of accountability. At what point do we need to do that? Have we reached that level? Those are my thoughts.
Commissioner Salas.
Yeah, I know I used examples earlier, but after 25 years of elected positions and watching things fall apart, I'm going to reflect on something that has got now today serious repercussions as well. And it was policy, and it was policy that was just changed in a meeting, boom, and 4 or 5 years of work just evaporated. And it was basically, and Elizabeth could actually remember this, but because she worked at Oak Lodge Water back then. So the board, when I got on the board at Oak Lodge Water, they had no strategic plan. They were in financial, they were upside down, big time. And they failed on policies, failed on a capital plan, operations and maintenance. So we spent 5 years working to put everything in place because I knew I wasn't going to be on the water board forever. I'm not going to be on this commission forever, right? Policies and code, or wherever you want to put it, hopefully succeed beyond us. We have to think beyond us. We might be here to do the right thing, and we know what we're doing, but we don't know what's going to change. Well, what happened is that over time, the board changed, the water board changed, and boom went the strategic plan, went away the capital plan, went away the operations and maintenance, and had they kept that, we would have been, from an infrastructure standpoint, in good shape. Now, because they abandoned all that, threw the policy out the window, the water rates there are the highest in the county. And our neighbors, that are in Oak Lodge Water, are going through some difficult increases. And the highest water rates in Clackamas County today. It's abandonment of policy. So I'm thinking, what? Why did I spend 4 or 5 years of my life on the water board to see all that just vanish? So I come from a perspective of you can never make anything permanent. If you put it in code, you can still change the code. But if you put it in code and it's required to have a public hearing, you know what? You can't do it
Willy-nilly.
in an empty room, right? You're going to have to do public notice and everything else. So that's where I come from. I want to see this county be successful beyond my lifetime, and also for my kids as well, and the people I know and the people that I love in this county. I love this county, but, this county can't be successful without some stability, and we've done a really great job. Look what happened in Washington County. Several years ago, they were financially sound. A lot of policies, I know people that work there, all the policies went out the window. And they were 85 million or something like that, 50 million in the red, they abandon all those policies. Policies are constantly either ignored or abandoned or changed, and it's easy to do. That's why I'm taking a stand here today. No pressure, I'm just explaining my position and my experience.
Thank you, Paul. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. In talking to two contractors, and I won't mention their names because they're not on contract, but one of them said for the 30-year assumption that they would not be able to audit the assumptions because they're very internal to the organization and how the organization has their different relationships, how they do their business, but they would audit the math, and they would just check our math, which we have checks in place for that. The other one said they would not be accountable, they could not be accountable to if those assumptions change down the road, because 30 years is really too long to hold anybody to task on if those assumptions are sustainable. And I just wanted to put in a plug in for our finance department that the last 5 years of our forecasts have held. We have been spot on with our assumptions, with these projections, and the forecast has held as we're doing it. And I'm saying that's only because we've got great guidance, we're doing great things, and you guys are holding the line and keeping that forecast. Because as I mentioned earlier, they're only assumptions, but it's the decisions that are made today that affect 5 years out, 7 years out, 15 years out. So just those assumptions get squirrely after tomorrow.
Yeah, and my comment earlier, when I used the Abernathy Bridge ODOT debacle, I'll call it debacle, right, is that, a lot of people are caught off guard when they realize that, oh, yeah, the inflationary rate of X, we knew that it wasn't that. What happens is when those things aren't in front of you and the audit assumptions would bring out some of the key factors, as well as the inflationary impacts for the maintenance of the courthouse, or the courthouse contract, right? If you did some math and you figured out current interest rates, those payments, as you know, Elizabeth, they're projected to be at least 18 million in the tail end, right? But we're starting out at 15 and 16. They could be much higher. What if we found out that those payments, instead of being in 1 year projected at 16 million, turn out to be 20 million or 21 million? That's going to have a big impact on the county. And I will remember this session for years to come, our discussion here today, because that's another issue I had with the P3, is that we are setting ourselves on a trajectory of unknowns, uncertainties. And that's why I want to bring out all those assumptions so that it's public, so we know what they are.
Thank you, Paul. I think we're at a point for the clerk to call a poll for us.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
No.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
No.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2, Mr. Chair.
Right. Thank you all for the discussion. I think it was, as Ben said, I think it was valuable. And also, I feel like I learned a lot as well, so some of these issues. So thank you very much. And I'll turn to Gary as next.
Thank you. Next, Budget Committee. Your county Budget Committee has 2 upcoming vacancies for the public members. The current people who sit in those seats are James Rhodes and James Karn. I've spoken to both of them, and they would like to continue their service on the Budget Committee. And today I want to ask you, do you just want to directly appoint them, or would you like to open a recruitment and they would apply and then we go through that process?
Commissioner West.
I very much and very strongly want to just reappoint them. They've been stellar, they're experienced. I trust this Budget Committee, and they're fantastic community members. So I hope that this board will choose to just do the right thing and get it done and appoint them.
Can we do that now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I move to reappoint the 2 renewing positions.
Second.
All right.
James Rhodes.
Commissioner, yeah. Commissioner Savas has moved to reappoint James Rhodes, James Carnes to the Budget Committee. It's been seconded by Commissioner West. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
And Gary.
All right, next, you have two business-type meetings coming up. First is the joint meeting with the Tourism Development Council tomorrow, Wednesday, July 23rd at 1 p.m. And you have your regular board business meeting this Thursday, July 24th at 10 a.m. For your board business meeting, it's, at this point, all consent agenda items for the Board of County Commissioners. If you have any questions on any item, if you'd please let me know prior to Thursday, so I can either answer it for you or have staff in the room to answer it for you. All right, next, final item for issues is Commissioner Communications, and you're 20 minutes late for your first policy session. So up to you, Chair, what you'd like to do next.
Folks, all right, we're just continuing? Yeah. And pass on the communication? All right. So Gary, would you please introduce the first item?
Yes, thank you. We're now moving to policy sessions. The first afternoon policy session is Board Committee Assignments. Emily Klepper, what was that, a gasp? Emily Klepper, Senior Policy Advisor from County Administration, will present. There's a grid in your packet, and Emily will walk through this process with you. Go ahead, please, Emily.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Okay, so I'm Emily Klepper, Senior Policy Advisor. Regularly, we try to give the board an opportunity to look at your committee list and your liaison assignments. That's what's in front of you today, and with the chair's permission and with your permission, I'll just go one by one, and we will hopefully just move right through this list, if you guys are ready.
That sounds
that okay?
fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody have the list in front of them? Great. So the first one is the Clackamas County Audit Committee. This is guided by bylaws, which require the chair and vice chair to serve. So you see Chair Roberts and Commissioner Savas are both listed. We're going to continue on. Internal Audit Oversight Committee, also guided by bylaws. So Chair Roberts and Commissioner Savas currently serve. The next committee is the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, C4. So right now that's chaired by Commissioner Savas, and the alternate is Commissioner West. Any discussion?
Is that okay?
I would like to just focus my attention on some other things, and I am open to giving up the second position on C4. And Commissioner Helm, you might want to consider doing it just based on your background and where you sit in the county. I think if you're interested, but I would consider giving another commissioner an opportunity to serve there.
Okay,
I'm fine doing that.
great.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Helm.
Okay, the following one, also related, is the C4 Metro Subcommittee. I will say, I think these two, the primary and the alternate, are the JPACT and MPAC reps. Commissioner Savas, I'm looking at you, though, for comment.
Yeah, that's right. And so whoever's on impact should be the second person. So maybe we tackle that first, the impact appointment. And then should be, to make C4 Metro be functional, because it's really prep for MPAC and prep for JPAC.
Yeah, and I'm willing, I think that's a good idea. I really, I was hopeful Diana would take that over. I have difficulty getting to those meetings on Wednesdays because I have a conflict with another board I serve on, so I think it'd be wise to have someone who could be there, because I agree with you. You can go to MPAC, but unless you're there with the colleagues, you gotta do it. It's not as functional as it could be. So Diana, would you?
Yeah, I'm fine to do
And I
that.
wouldn't mind being the alternate for MPAC, but I think it's a good,
So
good choice, if that's okay with you.
currently, I'm the, am I reading this correctly? Hold on.
Yeah, you are the.
I am the alternate, and I took over that, I believe, for Commissioner Scholl when we had a vacancy there. I haven't even attended a single meeting for that. So I think I'm completely open to giving a different opportunity.
I don't mind.
It also tends to not be the best time for me in the morning. Does anybody, do you want
Well,
it?
impact is the fourth Wednesday. It's an evening. It's a 5 to 7.
No, but are we
But then
talking about the,
Oh, the morning meeting, if you need.
is that
to
impact or
know.
J, that's,
Impact.
What time is this meeting? Can we just clarify?
It's from 5 to 7, the fourth Wednesday of the month.
5 to 7, the 4th, okay.
So if you want,
Oh, JPAC's that more, okay.
it's up to you. But
You're currently
I think
so Commissioner Helm is going to be the new lead on
she'll be
it?
the new MPAC
The primary.
person. Yeah, and I would just be a
Do you want to just be
fill-in.
the alternate then?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just
Okay.
let me be the alternate. But the
Okay.
chances are, that, to me, that's just the backup if you necessarily need it.
Okay.
So am I clear on that? On the impact, it's Hellman Schrader, is that correct?
Yeah, and you're okay with that, Matt?
Totally.
Okay. So let's go back. So C4 Metro Subcommittee, I'm hearing Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Helm in the primary and alternate positions because Commissioner Helm, you're willing to take MPAC and Commissioner Schrader will serve as the alternate.
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. So then back up to the Hospital Facilities Advisory Board, also guided by bylaws. Must be the chair. So Chair Roberts is listed there. No alternate is necessary. This is an ad hoc, only as needed board. Excuse me, the next committee is the NCPRD District Advisory Committee. We have Commissioner Savas serving as the ex officio member there. Any changes? No? Okay, following that, WES Advisory Committee. Commissioner Schrader is listed as the ex officio member.
Okay, which one are we?
You're on Water Environment
Libraries, yeah.
Services.
I'd like to keep that. That's a fun meeting.
Great. The next committee, Emergency Preparedness Council, I apologize, this one was recently retired by the board, so is no longer required. The following one is the Local Public Safety Coordinating Council. Commissioner West is sitting as the primary.
I would like to just keep that.
Great.
Okay, I have just a clarifying question, Emily. So that one we're talking about right now has got a dash there where it says alternate, but we just passed the WES. Who's the alternate for WES? And who's the alternate, right? So I'm assuming the dash means there's no alternate and that the open space for the alternate means that there would be. So just wondering if there's.
Oh, yeah, there is a
So
spot there.
there's a vacant spot for the WES.
Alternate.
Yeah,
Alternate.
I'm sorry, that's an oversight on my part. It's typical that there is no alternate needed for an ex officio seat.
Okay.
Because it's a non-voting, no alternate is necessary in that.
I should have a dash.
Somebody certainly could show up and you all are always welcome to attend these committees if you're interested.
That helps.
But
Thank you.
yes, I'm sorry, I forgot that. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so moving on to the Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation, JPACT. The primary is listed as Commissioner Savas, alternate is Commissioner West. Okay,
Do you want that?
Do you want to? I'd be more than happy to give you a chance to.
I would like to be on that.
You're absolutely
As
more
an
than welcome to take it from me, Commissioner. Congratulations, it's yours.
And then, Emily, on this one here, could you please send JPAC an official
absolutely,
notice of that change?
absolutely.
Because currently, they have it as Commissioner Schultz currently.
Yeah, I don't think even me taking it was ever. Oh, yeah, I was filling in for Scholl again. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
following the board's discussion and your decision today, staff will take the opportunity to notify all the committees of your decisions.
Okay.
Thank you. So then we just dealt with MPAC, so that's Commissioner Helm and Commissioner Schrader as the alternate. Moving on to the Tri-County Planning Body. This has been designated as a chair responsibility in the bylaws of the Tri-County Planning Body. As I mentioned earlier, it's likely the governance of the SHS program is going to change, but let's just leave this on here for now, if we may, please. The SHS, the Supportive Housing Services Oversight Committee, is the next one. This is a regional oversight committee. Commissioner West is listed as the ex officio from the county. Okay, great.
I'll keep it.
Okay. Next one is the R1 Act on Transportation. Commissioner Savas is listed as the primary. We do need an alternate for this.
Yes, we do.
I'm happy to be the alternate on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving along. HB 2017 Statewide Transportation Improvement Fund Advisory Committee. Commissioner Savas is listed there.
Why is there no alternate if it's a voting member?
Yeah,
At their bylaws, they don't allow.
They don't allow
alternates.
it.
Oh, they don't?
Apparently.
Okay. 82nd Avenue Transit Project Budget and Policy Committee.
That was Shoal, right?
Yeah, I inherited that, and I was thinking it'd be temporary, so I'm happy to let someone interested do that. I'd be the alternate if that helps.
I'm happy to take that one over, too.
Great, thank you. Okay. Okay. Next, Regional Disaster Policy Organization. I'm sorry, oh yes, that's correct.
That's you.
Preparedness Organization
Commissioner Schrader.
is what it should say.
I'd like to keep that.
Okay,
Emergency preparedness
you.
is
Uh,
very interesting.
okay, Willamette Falls Locks Authority. This is appointed by the governor, but has been held typically by the chair because it's a Clackamas County seat, it has been typically held by the chair, but it does require a governor appointment. But you're listed there. If you're interested, we certainly could seek out that process to formalize that.
Yeah, I'm fine doing that.
Great. Okay. Willamette Falls Landing and Heritage Area Coalition, Commissioner Schrader is listed there. Would you like to keep that, Commissioner Schrader?
Yep.
Great. Next, the Association of Oregon and California Railroad Counties. This is the ONC board. County has a voting seat there. Commissioner West is listed with Commissioner Schrader serving as the alternate.
I would like to keep it.
Okay.
Commissioner Schrader, do you want to still be my alternate?
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Okay. Clackamas Workforce Partnership Board of Directors, Commissioner Schrader is listed as the ex officio member.
Yep, I'd
Great,
like to keep that. Yep.
great. And with that comes the CWP Executive Committee.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. All right, we're moving right along. Clackamas County Business Alliance, I don't think there's necessarily a requirement to ask a particular commissioner to serve in this regard, but you certainly may if you want to. I know you regularly attend these meetings as topics are of interest. Anybody particularly want to be named in this, though? No? Great. Next on the list, the Association of Oregon Counties Board. This is listed as Commissioner West. We hold the seat for the counties over 250,000.
Yeah, oh, yes, he does, and I'm on the board permanently as the past president.
Correct.
And they've also are keeping me on the board at the National Association of Counties, so.
So you don't need a second? Is
I
that-
don't know. I don't know how that works. I do want to keep it,
Yeah.
No, you keep it.
Yeah.
I'm like forever there, change.
but should there be an alternate to it?
That's
I don't
really.
think there is one.
It's really something that AOC decides. Does that make sense?
Totally, but do
In other words,
they,
we choose, but they'll usually do what we ask them to do. So I don't know if there's.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
remember it being-
let me double check with AOC and see if an alternate is required, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
But Commissioner West, you're okay continuing to serve?
yep,
Fantastic, thank you. Forest Trust Lands Advisory Committee, this is also something AOC convenes. We don't have anybody listed, but I think Commissioner West, you were attending some of these meetings?
yep. I would like to do that if the board is okay with that.
Okay, great. The next section is about limited duration or a few committees that pop up from time to time for temporary reasons. The first one is the Public Transportation Advisory Committee that ODOT is holding. Commissioner Savis is currently sitting as the voting member representing AOC.
Yeah, AOC appoints.
That's right.
So I'm continuing that role.
Okay. And then again, my apologies, the next two committees, the 82nd Avenue Transit Project Steering Committee has been retired, as well as the Sunrise Gateway Project.
Those are retired.
Those are retired. So then the last one is the Aurora Airport Master Plan Advisory Committee.
Is that done yet? It's about to be.
I think we're close to being finished, but the county has had a voting seat.
We haven't had a voting seat, but
We haven't had a participant
rare
for a
or
while.
zero attendance, as I have heard.
Yeah.
I don't
We
know
have-
why someone wanted the position but never showed up for any of the meetings.
What? Really?
That's what I was told.
Okay.
Is anyone willing to serve?
What, can somebody tell me what it is?
Oh, we don't have time.
Oh, no. Oh, all right.
No.
Because, I mean, ad hoc, so it's going to be ending soon, but nobody knows when or,
They are working on a draft recommendations related to the master plan for the Aurora Airport. They're making recommendations to the Oregon Department of Aviation. There was some community concerns about how the airport was growing, and they were looking for a community process to receive recommendations.
sounds like a hornet's nest. I'm out.
It's appropriate. Hornets do fly.
That's funny.
Okay, we'll leave it blank for now.
I mean, if
We
if
can
nobody
track
wants
it.
to do it, it just seems like I'd be stepping into something I know nothing
Well,
about.
and I can always
but-
look into it, find out the status of the committee. I do think they're close to finalizing their recommendations, but there might be a meeting or two left.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
okay.
It's-
So Commissioner
it-
Helm, are you
It is in my
interested?
backyard, but it's a lot,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
How about I share that with the whole board, and then if you have any questions, you
Okay.
can reach back out. Fantastic, thank you. And then the last section, just as interested, these are liaison assignments. I use that term loosely. These really are interest areas the commissioners have chosen to kind of zero in on that are relevant to your subject matter expert, or your areas of interest, your policy areas of interest, excuse me. So the first one is the Community Health Council. We've had commissioners attend in the past. They have monthly meetings. I think staff is interested in having some representation occasionally from the board. Anybody interested? It's okay, we'll move on. Emergency Medical
Hold on, I
Service.
have a question. Can you review what the scope and the purpose of the Community Health Council is?
Oh, good,
Thanks,
Mary's
Mary.
here. Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Good afternoon, Mary Rumba, H3S Director. So I'm glad you asked. So the Community Health Council, while it is board appointed, it is also a requirement for us as a federally qualified health clinic, and it would be really great. I think previously, when we've had commissioners sort of assigned to these board-appointed councils, there is not an expectation that you're coming every single month. Twice a year would be great, because really, you've appointed these individuals, and they're like, we don't ever get an audience with the board that's appointed us. But certainly the Community Health Council, they meet regularly, they have a lot of requirements just to maintain their status as an FQHC.
I've attended this before. I'm more than happy to put my name there.
Great. Thank you very much.
I'm going to stay, just in case.
There's a few with
I know.
related to your department. Okay, the next one is the EMS Council. Commissioner West has a touch point with them. Are you interested in keeping that?
Not necessarily needing to.
Anybody else?
How about I be a backup?
Do you just want to do it?
We could tag
Former
team.
sheriff.
We'll tag team it.
Well, can we share it?
Sure, and as Mary said, I think these groups are just looking for an audience occasionally with you, so if we get it on your calendar, we just find months where it works for you.
Okay.
That'd be great. All right, thank you very much. The next one is the Mental Health and Addictions Council.
I've attended this. I want to keep that in my purview, please.
Thank you.
Great. And Public Health Advisory Council,
I have it.
and you're willing to keep it?
Yeah.
Okay. The Tourism Development Council.
I was going to ask if Diana wanted to take that one over, too. They're an interesting group. I've done it for a very long time.
TDC.
Yeah, TDC.
Monthly, second Wednesday.
If you want it, and if you don't, I'll keep it, but I think,
Yeah, I can probably do.
Is that something that's required, the same kind of thing?
No.
As
it's-
interested, commissioners can
I
attend these
wouldn't mind
meetings.
stepping up and.
Oh, you want to do it too?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'm totally okay with that, yes.
They're a fun
Okay.
group, and they do great metrics in terms of getting tourism. Like I said, I've been doing that for a while, and it's time to.
That's great.
Right.
Okay, thank you. The Veterans Advisory Council,
Okay, I have a question. Can I have it?
Please.
Okay.
I
I just feel like as the Navy
I
guy,
have a-
as the military guy, I don't
So
know.
can I come too with you? I'd like to. do
More
it
the
too.
merrier.
All right, great, okay.
Yeah, I've had a hard time making that particular hour, so.
You don't want us to take one of mine, I'll be more than happy to trade you.
And by the way, the next meeting is this Thursday.
It is, okay. I'll
Okay.
try to get on there.
As in 2 days from now?
Yes.
Okay.
We used to, with them, be very heavily involved with Camp Withicum.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to try and get that, meet the general, get that whole thing going again, get a tour. They're a big economic driver. And then, and they could actually start helping with the stand downs, the activities they have at Camp Withicum, and the military museum.
Commissioner Savas, do any of the ones I just took look appealing to you if you wanted to share the?
Been trying to lighten my load because after Commissioner Scholl left, I took a lot of his stuff and.
Yeah, I took his timber,
Yeah.
yeah,
And even the Veterans Committee was one of those as well.
policy work.
But you know what, I'm not sure we're working the chair hard enough, so we can always put it on the chair's shoulder.
okay, moving on. Joint AOC League of Oregon Cities Transportation Funding Forum. I understand this is a limited duration group providing ad hoc recommendations to AOC on transportation funding issues.
Yeah, that's kind of timed out.
As
but
it,
It's timed out, but if it comes back up, I would want to do it again if it came back up.
great, thank you. The Clackamas County Fair Board, I think previous commissioner held this seat, but they would appreciate if someone would attend our meetings regularly.
Do you want that one too?
I can
Diane?
do that.
Okay, do that one.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Want to go to-
I love the fair.
And then finally, the last one, I think, is a governor appointment, so
Yeah.
Commissioner Schrader is listed as the Workforce Training and Development Board member. It's great. Okay. Thank you, commissioners.
That tickle you?
What the, what?
I told them, I said, I love the fair, they started giggling.
Jeez.
So I think Gary has this set up basically, so we'll need a motion to affirm the entire list and not have to go through the whole thing. So if I could get a motion on that, that'd be great.
And that motion would read,
Yeah, what does that motion, we have
It's
to
in your
read all
script.
this off?
Commissioners, it's in your script. You all have a script in front of you. It's
true.
Page 12.
Thank you for the
my
page.
screen timed out.
Page 12. So many-
I move we affirm this list of Commissioner Committee assignments per today's discussion.
Second.
Right, Commissioner Helmus moved to affirm the list of Commissioner Committee assignments per today's discussion. Commissioner Savas has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Gary, what's next?
Thank you, Emily, very much. Excellent. You did that very efficiently.
Can we step back? Commissioner West had his light on.
Just
I'm sorry.
one, maybe one recommendation,
Uh-oh.
since I've, and just moving forward to put on this list, we've had a couple fall off, is the Benefits Review Committee. Now that I've attended some of those, I think it's essential that we do have a commissioner attend those meetings. I'm more than happy to continue to do it, but we might want to put that on the list. What do you think, Gary?
Absolutely, yes. You actually, we missed it. You did decide that you would be the liaison
Yep.
for the board to that committee.
And there's a lot of work coming out of that and things that are,
No.
that I've noticed and future conversations with leadership in HR. And there's stuff that needs to be talked about. And if we're approving these things and it comes before us, I think it's important we have a member there. So I'm happy to do it now, but I think it should be on our list of, and maybe we should have an alternate in case one of us can't go. I don't know, but no, just me. Gary says no. Okay. Yeah.
So if you're okay, you don't need to make another motion. We're going to add it to the list you just approved, if that is acceptable.
Yes.
Commissioner Savas had a comment.
Yeah, I do not have an alteration to the list, but I would like to have us come back at some point and change getting back to the first page of the sheet, the Internal Oversight Committee, the way the bylaws or whatever it's called are structured, it rotates to it's the vice chair. So every year that changes, right, automatically. So there's no institutional continuity through that seat. And it's got some financial type of roles, if you will. And I think that it ought to be a seat that ought to be more consistent than be alternating. So I have to wait 4 years for now I'm on it, right? But I'm learning that it doesn't do the county any advantage if we're termed out of it and we lose that continuity of projects and so forth and audits. So I would suggest, not today, but I would suggest we bring that back and change the bylaws to make it an appointment.
So that actually is not your authority. This is under Jody as our independent auditor and the Internal Audit Oversight Committee, and they've been reviewing the structure. You may recall she had an audit done of her own function. This was a recommendation by the external auditor she hired to review the composition of the Oversight Committee, and this was one of the suggestions, to have a more stable commissioner representative who may not necessarily be the chair and vice chair. So it's in the works. I'll remind Jody of that for the Internal Oversight Committee to review that request.
So who makes the appointment if it's not the BCC then?
Jody does.
Oh, Jody makes the appointment. Okay.
It's kind of a firewall to ensure her
right.
independence
Yeah.
as the internal auditor.
Well, thanks for the history. She did mention something, I knew that was in the queue, but I thought it would be a board, but that's fine.
But I'll remind her of that. Thank you.
That works.
All right.
Anything else on committee assignments for now?
No, I think we're ready to go with the
Do you have enough
next.
work, Commissioner Helm?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have something?
No, I'm energized. I'm fresh eyes. I'll be burnt out in 6 weeks, but get back to me. No, this is what I signed up for, right?
Thank you.
For 18 months.
At least.
All right.
All right, thank you. The next policy session is Performance Clackamas 2025-2030 Strategic Plan and 2025 Board Working Agreements. I will present this item. Commissioners, you held a retreat last month, June 24, 25, 2025, to discuss and update the board's strategic plan that we call Performance Clackamas. The Board of Commissioners has followed this model of a strategic planning since 2014, 11 years now. And thank you for revisiting this once again. Every 2 years, we ask the board to review the existing plan and to make changes or modifications for the next 5 years to focus on as a board. And I was a part of your retreat, and you did a fantastic job, in my opinion, coming up with priorities and goals for the upcoming 5 years, with a focus really on the next 2 years of those 5. And I've asked Andrew to please put on the screen what you came up with. And what has happened since your retreat is I've asked several department directors and appointed leaders to look at the proposed goals, and in particular, fill in the dates, which you left for me to do, and ask if there's any minor word changes they would recommend just to make the goal a little more clear or more explainable. And the staff has done that on this page, and I want to run by you what staff is recommending, but I'm hoping, asking, pleading that by the end of today you will approve this so we may move forward and implement your goals. So to start, there are 5 main priorities the board has had for the last 11 years, and this year you are making a small change by removing one, which was a focus on natural resources, and adding one, as well as taking out the verbs that were before the prior 5 priorities. So the new updated 5 priorities are, and they're the bold text ahead of each of the bullets: safe, secure, and livable communities, vibrant economy, strong infrastructure, healthy people, that's the new one, public trust, and good government. So those are the 5 overreaching priorities you will focus on as a board. And within each of those priorities, several goals you would like to achieve under those priorities. We'll go back to the start of the page, please. Andrew, thank you. So under safe, secure, and livable communities, I am going to read these. Affordable housing by 2030, 900 affordable housing units will be developed, including an emphasis on the senior population and underserved parts of the county. So the only change here is adding the date by 2030 and a number, 900. Staff feels that is an achievable goal by 2030. Of course, we'll try and do it sooner and more, but that's an achievable goal by 2030. If I may go through all of them first, would that be okay? And then come back for your questions or comments.
That's
Okay.
great.
Next, under safe, secure, and livable communities, jail. By 2028, based upon best practices, the county will complete preliminary design concepts and estimates for a new Clackamas County jail. So the date added is 2028. Staff is recommending adding the word preliminary, knowing that we're not going to have final design here in 2 years, but we could have preliminary design. Next, under vibrant economy, available land for business development by 2028. In conjunction with our communities and partners, the county will work to increase available land to retain, expand, and recruit new businesses. The suggested date is 2028. Staff is recommending taking out the second community, because we thought that's kind of repetitive, and change the word expand to increase. Again, we don't think this changes your intent, but those are the word recommendations we make. Take out the second community, add the word increase instead of expand. Next, development process. By 2028, the county will conduct a review of all development, regulatory processes to minimize burdens, provide an effective and timely permitting process for the community. Adding the year 2028. There's more word changes on this one than any other one, just to make it more clear to understand. Again, I don't believe this changes your intent, but please look at this carefully. So we took out ensure we are reducing and used the word minimize instead. Took out two ands, took out the best and said instead effective, because how do you define best? And effective and timely permitting. All right, next, childcare. By 2027, in conjunction with our communities and community partners, the county will develop strategies to retain, expand, and recruit new childcare opportunities. Adding the year 2027, recommend change the word from providers to opportunities. Kind of expands it a bit more rather than just narrowly focusing on recruiting providers. Next, strong infrastructure, Sunrise Corridor. By 2030, funding for the next phase of the Sunrise Gateway Corridor Highway 212 project will be committed from federal, state, regional, and local funding sources. Adding the year 2030, the project title has changed since you last had this goal. So multimodal is out, Highway 212 project is in, took out the word improvements. Again, staff and I don't believe this changes your intent. Next, transit. By 2027, the county will assess options for what effective, accessible, and affordable transit looks like in Clackamas County. Added the year 2027. Suggest instead of provide a plan, add assess options, just to clarify that language. Next.
But that is a change.
That, again, is a change. Staff and I don't believe it's a meaningful change, but we'll talk about that here in a moment. Healthy people, recovery-oriented system of care. By 2027, the county will continue to address homelessness, mental health, and substance use disorders through the completion and operations of the Clackamas County Recovery Campus. Adding the year 2027, the word abuse is not the standard we use the word use. So it's substance use. That's the only change there. Public trust and good government, best practice governance. By 2026, convene a review committee to evaluate best practice county governance models. Adding 2026, no change to the text. And then the last one, communications and engagement. By 2026, through the development of a strategic communications and engagement plan, the Clackamas County community will experience greater transparency and accountability from their county government. Adding 2026, no changes. If you're following along, this would have then in 2026, two goals achieved. By 2027, 3 achieved. By 2028, 3 achieved. And by 2030, 2 achieved. So, seeking your input and feedback, if you agree with the dates, if you agree with the language suggested edits, please discuss. And again, I'm hoping you'll approve whatever you decide here before the end of today. Thank you.
Commissioner West has a question.
Are you going to comment, Commissioner's Office? Because I almost want to defer to your question before I jump in on mine. If that
Yeah,
issue,
why
if
don't you-
that wording.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and go first? I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we explain the thought process around, I mean, we're in a housing crisis, right? And so we have 900 affordable housing units, which we need housing units, but 2030 seems a little far out. I'm just curious about processes and how we get there and we got to that number and what the future kind of looks like with housing for this population.
Thank you, Mary, for being here today.
You're very welcome.
She knew we needed her.
Mary, run by H3S Director. Yeah, the staff, although they didn't have much time, they did a very thoughtful sort of future review, and really, they know already what is committed or is coming online. To do much more than 900 really likely will result in us not meeting the goal.
Okay.
So it was the balance of what we know today and really not knowing the future. And we believe that we'll likely meet it prior to 2030 and will likely exceed the goal as well. But this felt very reasonable and comfortable with what we know today.
Do you think it effectively addresses also the urgency of the crisis we face within the specific issue? Or do you think we struck that balance?
I think we struck the balance.
Okay. That's my only question.
Commissioner Helm.
Mine is also about timing. So when I spoke to Dan Johnson the other day, and I know that they are doing a industrial land analysis that is on like an 18-month track. And I asked if it could be put on the express train because we're losing out to so many other communities that are growing businesses, and I think we need to pivot a little sooner than that. So I'm just wondering if that could get moved up. Maybe we can make it January 1st, 2028. Since you're not putting, you're not putting it at that's 12 months. I don't know, if you're talking about the end of the year when you're talking about these years, or are you talking about sometime during that year?
I am purposely not putting a month.
I know, yeah, I know.
To give
I'm
more
gi- I'm giving
flexibility.
you a hard time.
So that I can deliver and staff can deliver for you. If you'd like dates, we can add months. Dan's going to be briefing you later on those two specific studies you addressed. Look, these are goals. My hope is to achieve all of these much sooner, but I have to be realistic with the staff capacity and the other things you've asked us to do.
Under promise, over deliver. I love it. Okay, I'm okay with that then.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thoughts?
I like the changes that you made. They were slight, but I think they actually added
Nice
clarification
yes.
to it, and yes, took out some redundancies.
Can we talk about the transit, Commissioner Savas? If we can go back to the original language if you prefer?
Well, the way I would, I think we landed on the language, a plan is a plan, and options is something that actually I think we'll be discussing this weekend and going forward at the retreat. So I think options are actually near term. And I don't think 2 years for an option is timely enough, and I don't think it's the intent. I think the intent was to have a plan by then.
Other thoughts?
I agree.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too, yeah. I think the plan is completely different than having ideas.
Staff was just offering a suggestion. It's your decision, it's your plan. So we're going back to, for the transit, the county will provide a plan. Go back to the original language.
Good
Okay?
idea.
Got it? Any other concerns? Are you okay? So with respect, when you vote here shortly, this is the plan. This is what staff and you will focus on, knowing that other things will come up, of course. The rest of the government still operates, but these are the main priorities staff is going to help you implement, at least over the next 2 years.
Are you going to give us some shades for the bright, shiny objects that are going to,
I will always attempt to do that.
All right, we might need that.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, so I'm not saying what's there is inconsistent. I do remember that was the language we landed on. I'm speaking to the one under public trust under best practice governance of 2026. So I don't disagree with anything there, but I'm just wondering when we actually better define what the intent was behind that. And so I know that it's not 2027, which I'm glad, or 30s, or 2028, so I'm glad it's soon, but I do think, I want to make sure there's opportunity to the board discuss with staff to shape that. So I know that and we've been effective with the implementation teams, but are each of these going to have a board discussion where we helped get in the details of each of these before staff goes to work on them?
No. So you've given the high-level direction of what you want, and I was in your retreat, as was Emily. So I know exactly what I think you want for this. I'm happy to talk to you privately about that. So let me jump ahead. So what's happening next after you approve this, there's going to be an implementation team of staff to come together starting in 2 weeks with our consultants who did your retreat to help put together a preliminary plan of how to implement these 10 goals. In the past, you've not approved those plans, but if you want, you can approve those plans too. But the intent is to create a map of how staff will work to implement your goals, and we will be sharing them with you, showing you progress at least every 6 months, probably once a quarter, on all of these on how they're doing. But I know exactly what this is about, Commissioner Savas, and so I mean, you and I have talked, and I know what your ideas are, and the rest of the board. So I'm happy to talk to you about that. But no, it wasn't. There's not the intent to further flesh this out, other than these are the high-level projects. Now staff's going to start to work on them.
Yeah, and anyone watching, I mean, we've discussed this at the dais over the years, so it's nothing secretive or anything else like that. But I think that, one thing that we broached way back was, districts or not, and I know that's come back up recently. But the one that hasn't been addressed has been whether or not we ought to continue with an elected chair or a chair appointed by the board for a 2-year term or something to that effect. That was the impetus for this particular one. So I don't want to have anyone watching this or watching and recording this thinking that we're hiding what we're doing. I'm going to be transparent about it.
Got it. Thank you. And I have those 2 already on the list. And certainly, before a public committee is formed, we're going to come back and brief you on the charter and the membership. So you'll approve all of that. You'll have a say in that, of course.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions or feedback? Otherwise, I would be grateful for a motion to approve with the changes you've discussed today.
Chair, I move that we adopt the Performance Clackamas 2025 through 2030 strategic plan as presented.
Second.
With changes.
With changes, yeah.
Oh, with changes.
I think it was Helm. You guys were very close.
No,
It's
it was
fine.
Paul.
It's fine.
I just added language
Okay.
to.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, Commissioner West has moved to adopt the performance Clackamas 2025-2030 strategic plan as presented. Commissioner Savas has seconded that with changes. Any further discussion? Before I go to a poll, just one comment. I wanted to thank Gary and staff, all the commissioners for the hard work, all the community outreach, and there was, robust discussions, and just want to thank each and every one of you for your active participation, hard work, and I do feel like we came together with a plan that sets a clear direction that helps staff and everybody else. So I just want to express my thanks. And with that, I'll ask the clerk to call the poll.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah.
first of all, I just want to make a comment that and Chair, I actually talked about this last week. The board has been focused on these priorities and goals. Staff has held us accountable. We've held staff accountable. It's been a mutual work effort to make sure that the board priorities have been accomplished. And as I have been told people, we have been not only focused on this, but we've been successful more so in the last 5 years than in the last 15 that I've been present. So I think we need to acknowledge the great work of getting a lot of things done. And today we're talking about the Stabilization Center. Every time we talk about some of these projects that that are underway, that are happening, it's unprecedented to have so many things underway or near completion that have been done. So Gary, credit to you, credit to staff and the implementation teams and the structure. We're focused, We've been successful, and more so again in the last 5 years than ever. So let's just keep up the good work.
Commissioners. All right, there's one more piece of this session before we move on. Working agreements for the Board of County Commissioners. The board at your retreat, your team building retreat in March 2025, you came up with these working agreements of how you'll work together as a team. Commissioner Helm was not on board yet, so you review these again at your retreat in June 2025. And with Commissioner Helm's attendance, you again reaffirmed these as your working agreements. I'm asking for you to now formally approve through a vote that these will be your working agreements of how you work together as a team going forward.
Discussion.
I move we adopt the 2025 board working agreements as presented.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Helm has moved to adopt the 2025 board working agreements as presented, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Any further discussion?
Chair, only that I'm going to get my prop here. I don't think Commissioner Helm has seen this stuff as much or seen me use the props, but over the last several years, I've either held up this one or I've held up this one, and now we have that one, which is really a combination of the two. And I'm hoping actually that we become really, I'm sure you all studied the packet and you are focused on that, but if we can actually do this, all 5 of us, I think it really is a road to actually building the team that we need to build. And part of that, all of these things help build trust amongst us all. And it's incredibly important because absent that, and again, my 15 years, the one here that sticks out, avoid blindsiding colleagues, provide necessary information, ahead of discussions and so on. I mean, there's things that we can do in working with each other to build a team and keep a team where we are, we won't be successful otherwise, frankly. And so I just want to point out that I've been a kind of a stickler. So Gary, when I get the new one, the laminated one, I like to have it here on my side,
Put it off for
so
all-
I can
all your seats,
continue to
yeah.
use my prop.
You can't have 3 of them, though.
I don't want 3.
There's another one right here.
All
too.
right.
There's another one.
With that, Clerk, would you please call the poll for us?
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Great. I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Board of Health. Gary, what's up?
Thank you, Commissioners. You're now meeting as the Board of Health of Clackamas County. This is ambulance contract with American Medical Response. Staff from the county's Health, Housing, and Human Services Department will present Mary Rumbaugh, the Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, and Philip Mason Joyner, the Deputy Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon again, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. Last year, the board approved an update to the county's ambulance service plan, which establishes the efficient and effective use of ambulance services in our community. This plan is reflected in County Code under Title 10 and provides the BCC as the Board of Health for Clackamas County with the authority to change boundaries for ambulance services, change requirements within the county's EMS system, and select or change ambulance providers. We're here today to seek your approval of a new performance-based contract for ambulance services between the county and American Medical Response Northwest that is in alignment with our county's updated ambulance service plan. This contract is an outcome of several years of hard work and negotiations between the board and AMR with support from county staff, our EMS council, fire agencies, first responders, hospitals, dispatch centers, and more partners across the county. I'll now hand it over to Philip Mason Joyner, our H3S Deputy Director, to provide a brief presentation on some more of the background, the requirements within the new contract, and our request.
Thank you very much, Mary. Good afternoon, Chair Roberts and Commissioners. Great to be here. Philip Mason Joyner, H3S Deputy Director. I just have a handful of slides primarily for partners and the public watching to have a little bit of knowledge around the history. And this is a very large, complex contract. done our best to distill a 55-page contract with lots of appendices. Worked with county staff to really focus on the highlights and the critical differences between the past contract and the one before you for your consideration today. So as Mary mentioned, we have been working on this contract for quite a while. Formal negotiations have been over 2 years, but really it is the ambulance service plan that is reflected in county code to make sure that this new contract aligns with those requirements. So this is something that our EMS councils and partners have been working on for 5+ years. And this is a significant milestone to get before you a finalized performance-based contract between the county and AMR. Our current contract that was in place initially for 10 years, it was then extended 1 more year because of concerns around that contract and AMR's during that time period meeting their response time requirements within that contract, and the board's hesitancy to move into a long-term arrangement. It's been a successful year. There's been a lot of accountability, a lot of collaboration, a lot of work to negotiate this contract while also addressing the concerns within the previous contract. The past contract, it did expire April 30th of this year, and we have been operating for the past couple of months with lame duck provisions. So that provides 90 days where AMR is legally obligated to continue to provide EMS services in the county. That clock is now close to being done ticking, and we are really at crunch time here. The lame duck period does end on July 31st. So this really is a significant time. What has stalled and delayed our negotiations is AMR, does rely on patient rates, the amount that they charge patients for when they transport them to local emergency departments as their primary revenue source for this contract and to be the franchisee. Their cost and the way in which we have modeled the funding of the contract the past 11 years based on CPI and with a cap annually, it just hasn't kept up with their costs. AMR is currently operating at a $3 million loss for their Clackamas operations. And negotiations early on were difficult. The rate in which they presented us with initially was quite high than what you're going to see today. We were able to negotiate, compromise, land in the middle in a place that we feel best assures that we can continue to meet the community needs and have a contract that's really strong and provides the quality that we expect as a county. So I've got just 3 tables I'm going to walk through to really focus on the highlights. Of course, board, if you want to dive in deeper, happy to do so. But the past contract, the primary mechanism, and really nationally since the 90s, has been focused on response times. For every call, if the call comes in, it's in an urban, suburban, rural area, there's specific time periods that they need to get the ambulance onto the scene. This new contract still has that in place, but it really does try to look at the data and the evidence. And what really matters is there's a certain clinical calls that really matter. If it's a heart attack, a stroke, airway, if there's a trauma, those are the calls that you really want to make sure your resources are getting there quickly. And so that accountability is still in place, but it also allows flexibility for if there are things that aren't as emergent, there's more flexibility where they don't need to get there quite as quickly, and it really is data-driven. Also, thanks to new investments that the county has made over the past 5 years or so around new technology, now getting all of our fire agencies and AMR on the same electronic health record, having new data dashboards in place, we can now actually evaluate the clinical care that's being provided by AMR to patients. And there are now performance metrics and accountability in place for that. There is this balance now of liquidated damages or fines that we administer. They are steeper than the past contract, but it is balanced because if AMR is meeting every month quality clinical care and meeting those targets, then if they do accumulate any of those fines, there's the possibility that those fines could be reduced because of the quality of care that's being provided. We are also really working hard with our EMS council and stakeholders to increase and ramp up transparency and accountability and sharing of how AMR is performing, so it's not a mystery that only county staff sees. The public, our partners are going to have much more opportunity to have a window and look into how AMR is doing. So that's something we've been able to negotiate and put in place within the new contract. High Rocks Lifeguard Program and Reach and Treat Wilderness Program. These are beloved programs in Clackamas County. For the past 11 years, AMR has provided this to the county at no cost to the county. In this contract, AMR is agreeable to provide it for 1 year. They will fully take care of the cost of the program. However, it's 1 year. Their primary mission is to make sure that when 911 medical calls in, that they are responding to those incidents. And we, as the county, have agreed that we're going to work together in partnership to bring, I know that the board is very interested to work with AMR and convening partners in talking about those two programs, having some community engagement sessions, talking to maybe non-traditional partners about how do we braid funding, how do we put additional resources and finance together so it's not completely on AMR's shoulder to cover the cost of this program moving forward in order for us to keep these services for our community. Last year, we put in place the nurse navigation program, which has been very successful. So that allows for us to, if it's clinically unnecessary for a fire truck and an ambulance to come and see the patient and take them to the emergency department, and we can actually provide nurse triage. That is now an option that AMR is providing that at no cost. And we are, as far as I know, still the first county in Oregon to have that program in place, so we're very proud of that. Secure transport is now a new requirement. It's something that AMR has been providing the last few years. This is in partnership with law enforcement agencies where if someone is in mental health distress or under custody but has medical needs, instead of going to the emergency department in a police vehicle, they can be escorted with the law enforcement and go in the ambulance. So that's a new requirement that's really important that we keep. Patient rates. So currently patient rates, the amount that individuals pay for transport before insurance is $1,675.73. And what we've been able to negotiate is upon execution of this contract, rates will be increased to $2,245.48. In this fall, there'll be another increase to $3,480.49, and then in 2026, it will move to CPI calculations, but instead of in the past 10 years where we had a cap of 5%, that cap has been increased to 15%, just because we've experienced where CPI is more than 5% over the past 10 years. So that is that piece. The past contract had a lot of requirements, lots of reporting that AMR was accountable to do. We're one of the few counties that has required that AMR do an annual external audit, financial audit. That remains in place. All those things will continue in a new contract. There's a much stronger emphasis as well within the new contract around continuous quality improvement, investing in resources, looking at the data, participating in our EMS council, has a quality improvement committee now focused on that work. I mentioned the new technology. Another option I'm excited about, because I think we need to be creative and looking at the resources. This work, it is expensive, it's hard work. This is the first time now that our contract allows basic life support ambulances. So the way it's been currently, every ambulance in Clackamas County requires one paramedic and one EMT. If this is a low acuity or less emergency call where maybe they don't need the paramedic on scene, but nurse nav, maybe we do want someone to go out and check on this individual. We can now send just an EMT only to go to the scene, less expensive resource. So that is a very high-level summary of a really big contract. We thought it would be nice to just close with this story from the field. So there's lots of examples we could share. But late last year, we did have one of our Clackamas AMR paramedics who saved a newborn's life, and the family's doing really well today because of their efforts. And, I just think as the Board of Health for this county, there's so much that comes before you every single day, but this contract is just so significant for our community. The great work that AMR, our partners for over 25 years in this county, have been the work that we do with our fire agencies and ultimately serve and save lives through this work and the authority that you provide and oversight and partnership that we've all done. It's been a long road to get to this point. In your pocket, though, is a signed copy by AMR's regional president. I'm happy to move to options or discussion. Chair, I'll hand it back to you.
All right. So colleagues, questions. I see Commissioner West has a question and Sabish, you're up next.
Well, this has been a journey. I'm glad we're here. There was a healthy struggle between friends on this one. And so I appreciate your leadership out of H3S. Philip, Mary, thank you so much. A couple questions. One of my big concerns was the sticker shock, and this has been widely known, this does not surprise anybody, on the rate increase. What was it under the previous contract, and then can we show that comparison to where it's having to go based on the cost to do business? Do you have that information? I don't know if you have that.
It's in this slide, but.
Well, I think you saw, unless I missed it, I saw it was like 2,400, and it jumps up to like 3,400 and by November 24, right? But prior to that, what were?
Currently $1,600.
Thank you. Okay.
$75.
Yeah, so there it is. I was on the other side in the blue. Thank you. So that's a pretty dramatic increase. That's significant. And so there are real people in our community that, for whatever reason, may get stuck with that. And of course, all of our concern is we don't want people to realize these rate increases and then in an emergency try to take themselves to OHSU or Meridian Park or some other hospital facility in a crisis, and it become more dangerous for them. And we want people to get the care they deserve and need. We all feel that way. Can you speak to, because you look at that sticker shock and some people are like, wow, that's a lot for everyday Clackamas County residents. However, can you speak to kind of that safety net that AMR has established so that we can understand how we're sensitive to that and trying to find a way to help those utilizing a fund that is underutilized to support them if this is a financial burden? Can we jump on that? And then what's the plan to make sure that more people have knowledge of this if they need to access it?
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner, for the question, because I neglected to mention that was part of negotiation, as if patient rates are going to be increased, that we've had a compassion care program in place at the county where we required AMR to set aside a few $100,000 annually so that folks who have a financial hardship in order to be able to pay their ambulance bill are able to do that. We have very few folks who are uninsured in this county. So certainly they're going to be the most impacted if they're not able to go through insurance. Of course, there's still folks who have insurance, but it really depends on what your health insurance policy is in terms of what your out-of-pocket costs are going to be. Our healthcare system and the financing is very complicated. So the impacts are going to vary significantly, but it is great to know that that program will remain in place. That is going to see a significant significant increase and compared to the past contract, the concept being as the funding increases, as will these other important programs. So that funding will be available. AMR does have in every bill that goes out information about that, the QR code as well, to be able to provide client feedback. So they've got systems in place to help promote the program for folks who need it.
And Commissioner West, if I could also just add, while it does appear to feel like sticker shock, I think that in our negotiations and really some transparent conversations, our rate has not kept up with cost. And in fact, our rate is significantly lower than other county rates and frankly, national rates. So it does, for us, feel like sticker shock, but when you compare us to other states and other counties, this is actually much more in line.
Yeah, and just the conversations I've had with AMR and our first-time responders, there's really been an effort to be sensitive to these real issues. Everybody wants to make sure that people get this emergency care when they need it and as quick as possible. And there has been huge collaborative efforts that have worked well in our county, where in other counties it's been a little more contentious. And so I really appreciate the creativity and the good faith effort to stay at the table with one another, even at times when it wasn't always easy, and sometimes there's feelings, but I feel like that we work through a lot of that. I think it's another change that I think is more significant. I don't know if you spoke to this, a great presentation, is can you explain the difference between the last contract and now how this is an evergreen contract, and what does that implicate and mean?
Yeah, and the term of the contract, what we worked out with AMR is the way it's written. It's a 10-year contract with the option to do renewals in 5-year increments moving forward. Really, those are based on good performance by AMR. So there is a little bit of that pause every 5 years where both parties get to sit down and say, is this working? Is it not?
Okay.
So I would
that
not
make
say
it an
it's- I would not say
evergreen?
it's evergreen, but I think that's a question for county council.
Okay. So that had been in conversations about this evergreen model, and so you guys have kind of found that happy medium between what it was with specific timeframes to now having, I don't know, like a review process with one another to check on the relationship.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to vote for this today. I'm glad we got here. It's overdue. We need to get it done. Thank you, AMR, and everyone else involved, staff. And I look forward to us having a good working relationship to provide these services to those that need them in our county, and thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Salas.
Yeah, can you, Philip, give me the latest report on the response times?
AMR has been, during this lame duck period, they continue to meet that 90% threshold and are meeting the performance requirements of the past contract.
Whereabouts are we in the range?
The specifics, I would need an assist on that, but I know for certain that they're meeting that expectation of, in urban, suburban, rural, frontier areas, 90% of the calls, they're getting there on what's required.
Okay. Well, without getting into a lot in the weeds and the details and the complications thereof, I first want to just say that I appreciate all the work on the ambulance service plan elements of this that all the work that's been done with our EMS folks and what's been incorporated in this contract that helps provide those services and overlaps. My concern has been highly public in the media for a long time, has been the response times issues with Clackamas and Multnomah and Washington County and so forth. And, we've incorporated a few things to, bring the workforce up. And in some of my conversations, I've learned that, that AMR has brought in, to their credit, brought in some temporary help to fill those gaps. I was hopeful that it's a doubling of the rate. It's more than 100% doubling from $1,675 ultimately to $3,400 some odd dollars per ride. That the fines for noncompliance or not meeting response times would move up, be commensurate with the rate increases, right? And it would seem to me, for example, I kind of used this in another argument with Commissioner West earlier today. If we know we're going to be, if the state legislature passes a law that triples the fines for speeding down a highway, I don't really care because I don't plan on speeding, right? But for those who do, then you probably say, I'm not quite, that might hurt. I might get a ticket. I don't want to pay that extra fee or fine. So with this, it seems to me if the intent was to keep the staffing up to par, that the penalties, or it wouldn't be a problem raising the penalties at the same rate that the rates are going up, right? So doubling of the rate, doubling of the fines, right, for noncompliance. So the fact that that has not been accepted, and I'm in this awkward position where I want to acknowledge all the great work that's been done and all the progress. People in the room, yourselves, staff, have done a lot of good work. And I'm stuck today. Just kind of thinking I am concerned about, because proportionally, as the rate goes up and the fines are fixed, then I won't say it's an incentive not to meet the response times, but the fines at a smaller fixed rate get smaller and smaller, and they don't have the same impact as really being a fine in the circumstances of noncompliance. And I remember years where there was not an issue as response time. So it seems their history has been great up until the last few years or COVID forward. So it would seem that I would, again, if I'm not planning on speeding, I don't care if you triple the rates or double the rates, right? Or the fine for speeding. But I'm just concerned that that's one thing that, because it was resisted and it's not commensurate with the doubling of the rates, I have paused today on this. So I don't know how I'm going to be when this comes to the board, whether it's today or it's next week. That's the part that pains me a little bit.
Thank you for that. If I may, Commissioner Savas, I do want to thank you for your advocacy around that topic. You know, the fines in the contract, or the liquidated damages, they were elevated, increased from where we started because of your advocacy. So I want to give you credit for that. Also, while it wasn't exactly what we wanted, that it would align completely with annual patient rate increase. AMR was agreeable to meet us in the middle, and every 5 years there'll be an inflator of those liquidated damages. So I know it's not what we wanted, but at least it was something. And because of your advocacy, we were able to make some headway there.
Right, and the other thing I want to acknowledge, and that is, I just want to, because I know it's been a lot of cost and pain for, if AMR or the ambulance provider can't respond in time, that the fire districts are the one picking up the slack, or the sheriff's department or local police department are filling in that gaps while we're waiting for a paramedic or whatnot. So I do want to acknowledge that, because of the issue with some of the people in crisis, growing, with drug addiction and everything else, that the demands on fire departments and demands on the sheriffs and local police have completely changed complexion in the last 5 to 10 years. And so, really the need for this service and the need for response times is greater than ever. And so that's I'm just hoping we can actually pay close attention to the response times, and hoping that AMR, does not lay off their temporary workers that they've hired, or I don't know exactly what they call them. But I just want to make sure the response times get up, because that's, at the end of the day, that's our mission. Our mission is, in people's worst times of their lives or their crises, that we're there. That's what this is all about, that they're there. And response times are everything. And we know that every second, every minute that goes by can mean the difference between life and death. And that's our mission here today.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion for this contract.
Chair, I move that we, excuse me, Chair, I move that we place the performance-based ambulance contract with AMR Northwest on an upcoming board business meeting agenda for final approval prior to August 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
Right. Commissioner West has moved to place the performance-based ambulance contract with AMR Northwest on the upcoming board business meeting agenda for final approval prior to August 1st, 2025. Commissioner Schrader has seconded that. Any further discussion? I just want to make one comment. Well, actually, it's two. One, to thank you for your hard work. I know this has been a long process and lots of going back and forth, and your diligence, has really paid off. I also want to just kind of keep us focused on the big issue at hand, that I think it's beyond this contract, is there is a shortage of paramedics. There's a burnout rate, and that we need to be kind of filling that stream of paramedics. So I think it's incumbent upon us that we're working with OHSU, our colleges, to really also incentivize or create ways to get folks through the paramedic program, because I just see that this is a population that we need to really continue to support around healthcare. So with that, if there's no other comments, I'll ask the clerk to call the poll, please.
Commissioner Helm,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
I'm going to abstain until the final vote.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Returning to you, Commissioner Savas.
I'm abstaining.
Mr. Chair,
Aye.
motion passes 4-0, Mr. Chair. 401, excuse me, Mr. Chair.
And Gary, this comes back for final approval at a business meeting, correct?
Next Thursday, July 31st, for final discussion.
All right. Anything else required, Gary?
That is end of your board business today.
All right, if it's all right with everyone, this has
Nice
been a
and
long
warm in here.
day. If there's no further business, I just want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon, and we are adjourned. Thank you.